Donbass region of the country. The World Bank is warning the global economy may be heading for a period of stagflation, where prices rise but growth remains weak. And UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is vowing to focus on the country's rising cost of living, just 24 hours after he won a confidence vote among members of his own party. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
Congress today passed a landmark Social Security reform bill they estimate could save the troubled program billions. The so-called Grab Life by the Balls bill includes provisions to cut the cost of cigarettes in half, outlaws helmets, and adjusts the CDC's recommended amount of sleep from 8 hours a night to when you're dead. The bill's short-term initiatives aim to immediately cut Social Security costs in half by replacing senior citizens' monthly checks with vouchers for grain, alcohol, and extreme sports.
I got this coupon to motocross over a canyon. Better do my part to help the deficit.
Supporters in Congress say the cost will be offset by the so-called pussy tax on products such as sweaters, vegetables, hand soap, and flu shots.
America, would you rather die old, broke, and forgotten, or die a mother-f***ing legend?
The new program follows in the footsteps of the Life is a Cartoon Medicare campaign, which encourages seniors to run full speed off of cliffs and smoke sticks of dynamite.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program. The phones, as always, are open for you. Should you wish to join us, the number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And coming up tonight, another so-called rape has happened in the metaverse.
I don't know if this is another one, but...
No, it's another one.
I'm almost tempted to get a VR headset just to find out, because these people make out like, getting molested or whatever in one of these metaverse experiences is almost as bad as it happening in real life. So I'm
Which is
really
insane.
Curious. Yeah. Is it really as bad as they made it out to be? I can't imagine that it is.
I've got actual video of this one.
Yes.
So you'd be able to decide for yourself.
Is it some other avatar just rubbing up against you?
Yeah, we'll get into it. We could talk about
That's
that.
the problem right there. Someone has decided that type of sexual harassment is in fact the worst type of sexual harassment.
Let me tell you, Conan, not only is it another avatar rubbing up against you, it is a legless, crotchless avatar. So we can talk about that coming up here. But we've got a more serious story to start things out with here. And Arya, you have an update on what's happening in China with the Uyghur Muslims. Now, recently on the show, we've talked a lot about the lockdowns that have been happening in places like Shanghai, which apparently recent updates have that Shanghai is quote-unquote opening, but yet reports are that there's still plenty of areas in the city, which is a humongous city of 25 million people. Some are still being locked down. Many people were locked down for close to 3 months of their lives in this city. So that's where a lot of the focus has been. But meanwhile, the Uyghur Muslims out in the northwest part of China have continued to be tortured and kidnapped and imprisoned for simply, basically having a religion, I think is what it seems like.
Being suspected of having a religion.
Well, they are considered to be Muslims, although you're saying they might put somebody in prison even if they just suspect they're a Muslim?
Essentially, yeah, because a lot of these Muslims, as they're held in, they're questioned by police or whatever, and they're told, do you believe in God? Or do you worship Allah or whatever? And they say no, even though they are in fact religious. So there's
in the hopes that will keep them out of prison.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
And, this has been going on there for years, but what fascinates me most about this story is the AI component of it, because China's putting a lot of effort into artificial intelligence and researching it and doing everything they can to make it what they consider to be better. And it really reveals how horrifying this technology could be put to use
So they're using artificial intelligence to determine who to put behind bars?
Essentially,
is that what's happening here? By the way, I don't think we introduced. It's Ian here
Aria
and Conan.
All right, tell me more. And where's the story coming from?
It's coming from New York Post.
Okay.
There's a cultural, which is surprising because they're sort of right-leaning, if I remember correctly. There's a cultural genocide taking place in China right now against the nation's Uyghur minority, aggressively monitored by Chinese authorities and faced with the constant threat of arrest or torture. This Turkish-speaking people in China's far west now exist in the world's first real-life digital dictatorship. It's no exaggeration to say the entire province of Xinjiang, which is slightly smaller than Alaska, so it's huge, has been turned into a giant open-air prison camp by the Chinese Communist Party. And they link several stories here, but I want to get into the actual meat of the article.
And that's pretty much true for Shanghai as well. It has basically been turned into an open-air prison.
Yeah.
Like they've got roads that have been completely blocked off. Apartment complexes have been wrapped with steel fencing that is like 8 to 10 feet high. You can't even get out the front door in some of these locations. So they've it's probably not as bad as the detention centers that they have the Muslims in.
Probably not.
No.
Each neighborhood is further broken down into small grids of 15 to 20 families, each with an assigned grid monitor. As the author writes, each monitor is tasked with, this is a person, each monitor is tasked with snooping on their neighbors, reporting any suspicious or forbidden activities, such as Islamic practices like refusing to eat pork or fasting during Ramadan, to the authorities. So for every 15 to 20 families in the Zhejiang province, they have basically a grid monitor there who's watching for any religious activity or any hints of religious activity. Then there are the Monday morning flag-raising ceremonies at which attendance is obligatory. As the red flag of Communist China is raised, party officials, quote, lead chanted slogans about the greatness of the party and its Secretary General, Xi Jinping, and the need for Uyghurs to abandon their faith to anyone but him.
Wow.
In his book, Turkle, who's a guy they were referencing earlier, but I skipped over that, tells the story of a young woman named Zamrat, who recalled with a shudder the first time she was forced to renounce Islam. The party apparatchik leading the meeting shouted out to the assembled Uyghurs, "Is there a God?" The shocked crowd paused before answering no. They had to. Members of their neighborhood watch were scrutinizing their reactions as they stood around the flagpole. Terrified, Zamrat moved her lips, but didn't actually speak the words denouncing her faith that first time. "Who is your new God?" the meeting leader asked.
Now, this is one of those times where I wish we had Will Coley with us here, former host of the show, an imam in Islam, who, my question, of course, for him would be, are you allowed to do this under the rules of Islam? Are you allowed to...
I don't think so.
...to say you are not Islamic when asked by under threat?
I know in Christianity you're not allowed to, or you're not supposed to. The argument essentially is that if you turn your back on God, then he will turn his back on you, or something to that effect. I imagine it's the same in Islam, but I don't actually know.
Yeah, that's what I would lean towards, just sort of knowing what little I do know, but I don't know 100%.
Later,
if you're in the religion, you want to call in and let us know.
Yes, please.
The number is 603-283-6160.
Later, when Zumrat got home, she prayed to Allah for forgiveness. But this
is why.
Yeah. But these old school monitoring methods, most of which have been around in one fashion or another since the founding of the People's Republic in 1949, are just the beginning. The tech explosion has given Xi Jinping ways of surveilling the population using artificial intelligence that Chairman Mao could only have fantasized about. The mechanics of how this surveillance works are absolutely chilling. Over the last few years, every adult Uyghur has been summoned to their local police station to undergo, quote, a barrage of scans, tests, and examinations, including retinal scans, fingerprints, blood, or hair samples for DNA profiling. They also had to, quote, read from a set text for 45 minutes so their voices could be recorded and identified so that spies with listening devices parked outside people's houses knew who was talking.
Amazing.
My question is, how many of the Chinese residents have already gone through all this just to better their credit score? They've already voluntarily done all of this already, and the Uyghurs, of course, are in the shadows, and they have to be forced to comply.
Good question.
Finally, they are also forced to walk, talk, smile, and frown in front of a bank of cameras. The point is to train the AI program to identify each and every Uyghur on surveillance video, which AI is now able to do even when a person's face is turned away from their camera. Their very gait gives them away.
Amazing.
So just how they record you for walking, and then the AI matches that to who you are. It's chilling.
In the United States, within the last 20 years, there have been experiments with facial recognition technology, and they've tended to have been dismal as far as the recognition accuracy and the statistics of actually success have not been very good for these things. But in the U.S., all they ever have to go on is whatever images they have in a database somewhere. And of course, they have more now than ever thanks to social media. I mean, Facebook has been helping the government compile this database very effectively, but they still don't have the benefit of actually having forced every single person at the threat of violence to stand in front of a camera and, as you said, smile, frown, make different faces, then walk and motion capturing all of these things into the most amazingly detailed database from which they can, identify anybody, as you said, without even them seeing their face.
They do have this massive data set that other companies don't have, but China's also investing a lot more in AI than the United States is. They consider AI to be the future, so they're putting everything into that.
Well, if it is the future of controlling people, this is certainly making the argument for it. The number is 603-283-6160. Of course, the United States wants to control people through the metaverse, as we're going to learn about coming up here, but there's more about the Uyghurs, and you can share your thoughts. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live, and the phones are open. If you want to join us, you can. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about the Uyghur Muslims in northwest China that have been locked up, many of them for, I think, as many as years, if I recall our previous discussions about this.
I mean, the situation with the Uyghurs has been going on for years. I don't know what records people have about how long they've been locked up and things like that, but the oppression, the genocide, the Holocaust of the Uyghur people in China has been going on for a very long time.
It's absolutely horrifying, and what you're sharing with us tonight, Arya, is a story about how the Chinese government is now using artificial intelligence, machine learning, things like that, to figure out more about these people, where they're located, who they are, easily be able to identify them, even by, as you pointed out, their gait, their style of walking, which is usually a very unique thing per person. It's the truth. You see somebody from behind, you see how they're walking, you're like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, my friend, or whatever. And so they have trained their machines, they've trained their computers there by forcing every single person in the northwestern area of China to basically submit all of their statistics, all of their biometrics. They're being scanned, they're being checked, they're being recorded, they're being motion captured, and they have this database to be able to know where they are at all times.
And who is claiming that this is taking place?
A Uyghur Muslim who has fled from China. So, I mean,
good plan, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're a Uyghur Muslim and you aren't planning to leave, I don't know how easy it is to get out of there and
it can't be easy, man. Communist governments make it really
they don't
hard
want you to
get
leave.
away.
Yeah,
but you hear about North Koreans getting out all the time.
The Koreans can get out, and that's a much smaller, place from which to leave. I mean, this is a landmass that you said is about the size of Alaska. And there's a long border there, I think, with Kazakhstan. So
yeah, and that's another issue. Is
or
that
go to Turkey.
The neighboring Muslim countries will turn around and kick them right back to
Will
China.
Will they? God. Insane.
You know what? Yeah, and when I hear things like that, all you people claiming that the U.S. is the most racist country in the world, you shut up.
Yeah.
There are a lot of these countries around the world. I mean, they really are. They're
all bad.
Exactly.
Turkey and Kazakhstan, they're not kicking back these people because they're racist. They're doing it because they don't want to upset the Chinese government.
Wow.
This clever AI deployed by the Chinese Communist Party is not finished. It goes on to instantaneously determine whether a man's beard is slightly too shaggy or a woman's dress slightly too long. And, all of this sounds insanely far-fetched, but
what does that even mean? What is is it an offense in China to have a dress that's too long?
Well, these are signs that a Uyghur man or woman might be secretly practicing their faith, because they're not allowed to shave their beards or something to that effect. So if it's too scraggly, then they haven't been shaving, and they might be secretly religious.
Wow.
If identified, the AI surveillance system sends an arrest warrant to the printer in the local police station.
Damn.
The police take over from there, bringing the suspects in for questioning, binding them hand, foot, and neck in something called a tiger chair, and then asking, for example, whether they believe in the Communist Party or God. The wrong answer, I believe in God, results in torture and a prison sentence. The communist authorities have also enlisted smartphones into their surveillance network. As the author writes, all of the Uyghurs and other minorities in Xinjiang have been required to download an app chillingly called Clean Internet Security Soldier. This allows the AI to play I Spy with your cell phone, monitoring every detail of your life for any signs of suspicious activity.
Hey, I've got that on my phone. They just call it something different here in the United States. They made me put it on there as part of my bail conditions in the Crypto 6 case.
They did.
Oh, so this isn't Facebook?
No, it's I forget what it's called. It's like a web monitoring app. Basically, it can basically screenshot your phone at any time and does multiple times a day, as well as captures inputs.
So basically, every single app that you have installed on your phone.
Yeah.
Which is sending data back to home base.
Yeah, and that's also letting
them know what
messages,
you're doing, where you're at.
Right. Any text messages, they've got a copy of them, that kind of thing.
If you buy more groceries than usual, AI alerts the police that you may have unregistered guests and your home is raided. If you buy more gas than usual, the police will stop by to ask you where you think you're going.
Wow, so no more keeping, the Muslims under the floorboards, right? Like they did in Germany with Jews back in the day. Now they are watching your every consumption.
Well, think about the logistics of how that would work with this technology. You would bring the person out of the floorboards to give them food or whatever. Your phone, which has this software on it that allows the AI to directly hear everything is being said. It hears another person speaking, so it checks in against this database because it has every adult Uyghur Muslim.
Unauthorized.
And it goes, oh, this is where that person is. Send in the police.
Mm-hmm.
A terrifying level of surveillance.
And then automatedly sends the warrant. Like there's not even a human involved in the process until the actual arrest.
And then it's not really it's not even, it's a kangaroo court, basically. So do you believe in God? Or if they torture you, you're bound by your neck, your feet, and your hands before they've even done anything to you? In Zumrat's case, she made the mistake of texting the common Islamic expression, peace be upon you, to a friend. Which... That's not necessarily a sign of being religious. It's just a peace be upon you.
Good enough for the government.
Yeah, well, it is true that Muslims are known for saying that. It's not innately religious. Shortly thereafter, a security official approached her and told her the Arabic phrase was now banned. She had to stick to the, quote, national language, the new official term for Mandarin. Next time, the official warned, things wouldn't be so easy for her.
Wow.
But Beijing is not satisfied with merely scanning retinas before
What's the actual, I wonder what, they don't say it, but I wonder what the official greeting or parting is like, in Xi Jinping's name, something like that, right?
It probably is something like that. But Beijing is not satisfied with merely scanning Uyghur retinas before allowing them to cross the street or tracking every Uyghur's move on their own cell phone. Many Uyghur families have been forced to allow communist agents to stay with them and spy upon them in their own homes.
Wow.
According to Turkle, CCP documents show that hundreds of thousands of police, military, or security officers have been foisted on families in this way.
This is in addition to having basically a hall monitor constantly observing the 15 different households, or 15 to 20, I think is what you said earlier.
Yeah.
There's one bureaucrat assigned to every little section of a neighborhood, and then there's others like, oh, well, we suspect these people, so we're literally going to plant a communist agent into your home.
Yeah. And the Chinese government can do that. And
sure.
They have no recourse. And it's obviously a recipe for disaster when you think about this unaccountable government agent who might do some really bad things to these horrifically oppressed people who have no representation within the legal system at all. They pretend they are relatives, these Han Chinese, quote, big brothers, by using kinship terms, forbid the use of Uyghur language in the household. They attempt to bribe the children into informing on their parents and often sexually abuse mothers and their daughters.
Of course.
Yeah. Turkle tells of how a woman who stabbed her, quote, relative, one of these people, to death after the man sexually abused both her and her 12-year-old daughter, she ended up disappearing without a trace.
This just keeps getting worse.
It does, man. It's a messed up world.
The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can share your thoughts here with us. And don't think that this stuff can't happen here.
Well, we've got Brave New World on this side of the ocean. They've got 1984 going on over there.
Yeah, we'll get into it. More coming up. Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odyssey, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off, now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odyssey started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odyssey today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Ukrainian commanders say the country's armed forces are continuing to battle an intensifying Russian campaign in the eastern Donbass region of the country. The city of Severodonetsk remains under siege by the Kremlin's forces, and along with neighbouring Lysychansk, was described today by President Volodymyr Zelensky as being now dead. North of Donetsk, civilians are reportedly running low on food and fuel. Lesia Vasilyenko is a Ukrainian member of parliament for the pro-European Holos party.
The east, of course, is having it the worst. The Luhansk region, which is almost completely occupied, and fighting going on around the last standing city of Severodonetsk. Part of it is occupied by Russia, part of it is deoccupied by Ukrainian forces, and Ukrainian forces are making the advances. Pretty much we can go city by city in the east with certain progress for the Ukrainian army, but also the Russian advances being quite strong.
In related news, the World Bank is warning the global economy may be heading for a period of stagflation, where prices rise but growth remains weak, as FSN's Nick Harper reports from our Washington bureau.
The World Bank warning could herald a return to the 1970s, an era of stagflation, which the bank says is now on the cards for the global economy. Then, oil prices rose sharply several times over. Now, the fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine is creating supply problems and elevated prices. The bank says subdued growth will likely persist throughout the decade, which could in turn jeopardize the stability of dozens of countries worldwide.
And America's Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told senators on Tuesday the country is now facing unacceptable levels of inflation. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he will now focus on tackling the rising cost of living facing families in Britain. He's trying to move on from Monday's confidence vote, in which more than 40% of his fellow Conservative Party lawmakers failed to back him. From FSN's London bureau, Ollie Barrett with more.
Hours after winning the confidence vote in his leadership, Boris Johnson was round the cabinet table in Downing Street, insisting it's time to move on.
Thank you, by the way, everybody, for all your good work yesterday, because which was a very important day, because we're able now to draw a line under the issues that our opponents want to talk about, and we're able to get on with talking about what I think the people of this country want us to talk about.
Under current rules, Boris Johnson can't face another confidence vote from his own MPs for a year, but it's not impossible the Conservatives change those rules to try and force him out sooner.
And voters in 7 American states headed to the polls today. They're picking candidates in municipal, congressional and statewide contests with significant implications for November's midterm elections. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited if you want to join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about the disturbing stuff going on in the northwest area of China, the Xinjiang province, where a lot of Muslims live, and the Chinese government does not want that to be the case.
Well, the official religion of China is like atheism, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Are they unhappy with another race in their country, or is it the whole religious thing? Because that's it goes against their.
I think it's both. And I have to correct myself. I don't think it's atheism at all that is the official religion of China. I mean, they call it atheism, but what is religion, what they consider to be the state religion? I mean, the state religion.
Well, the state is the religion.
The state religion,
yeah, of course.
They're not atheists. Xi Jinping is their god.
They don't want other competitors around. They don't want Christians. They don't want Muslims. And it's horrifying what they're doing to the people out there. They're essentially forcing them in front of cameras, computers, capturing all kinds of data about these individuals, and then monitoring them constantly. If they say anything suspicious that might make the Chinese so-called authorities believe that they could still be harboring religious beliefs, the machines will issue a warrant. And it comes through the fax machine or whatever at the local bureaucrats, the police, and then they send agents out to investigate/arrest, inquire, force them to answer questions about their belief system. If they don't believe them, they might just throw them in a prison cell, or maybe they'll be nice and just put an agent into their home 24 hours a day.
And I think this is just a test run. I think they're just honing their technique. Mm-hmm. So that they can eventually move it on to the rest of the populace.
Sure, why not? Yeah, first they came for the Uyghurs.
And like I said, I think that many people, just like in this country, I think people are going to line up to get involved, especially if it affects your credit score.
Mm.
Here you don't really have to. Well, we don't have a credit score yet, but it's coming.
Look at how many people lined up to get a shot.
Exactly, but all you have to do is put it on a silly Facebook app. Here, change your face and how what do you look like when you got 40 years stacked on you? How old? And people will line up and submit all of their photos, and then Facebook's got all your information, and then bam.
Ian, you probably missed this one, but there was a recent one where it would take your picture and make like a painting style portrait.
Oh yeah. That was last week's meme.
It was so popular. It was so popular. And still, most of the profile pictures that I see of people on Facebook is one of these little fake painting things.
And by the way, it does look neat. I will admit.
Is this a Facebook app or something?
I think it's a third-party app where you upload your pictures.
Yeah, it's the CIA.
Well, it may be, but there's also rumors that it's the Russian government
or China
or China.
China's already got all our DNA.
Oh, because of the 23.
You better believe it. They own all those companies, and if they didn't own them when it first began, they bought them since. So yeah, they've got all of our DNA and they have our pictures. So like I said, they didn't need to line us up in front of a camera.
Voluntarily.
We all did it voluntarily. I haven't. I have never touched one of those silly.
You never been on social media?
Yeah, they've got the pictures that I've uploaded myself, but I have never submitted my face to their third-party technology. Facebook's got me, but China doesn't.
There's a difference, though, and I think it's important to recognize that just because you've uploaded profile pictures to Facebook doesn't necessarily mean that one of these AI systems is going to be able to identify you or what. The reason that these apps could be used by these world governments in order to build better data sets is because they're clean, right? If you go through my profile pictures, my history of profile pictures, maybe half of them are actually pictures of me. Mm-hmm. The others might be pictures of cats or whatever, and that's just screwing with their data.
Well, they can reject that pretty easily.
It requires a really intelligent AI.
They know what a human face looks like.
Or it requires someone sitting behind a desk going through all your pictures.
It requires a human being. If
they can knock them all out automatically.
I know they can, but they can also just make an app and say, hey, upload your picture and we'll send you this new one. They get this clean data set, like the 10-year challenge thing that went on a few years ago.
Yep.
It gives them a clean data set where they just have to search for this hashtag or whatever.
And by the way, I know that this is accurate technology because I've uploaded pictures before, and Facebook will ask me. They'll want to tag all the people in the photo, and they'll ask me, is this person this person?
Here's how they'll do it, probably.
And one time, many years ago, I had it. Somehow it got on auto tag.
Mm-hmm, yep.
And so someone got auto tagged. It wasn't them, but it really looked, it was very, very close.
Yep.
And so they were getting a hold of me. He's like, dude, why'd you tag me this person? I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, they turn that on automatically for everybody, I think.
You got to turn it off. Yes, you have to go in your settings and turn all that crap off.
Well, what they might do, for instance, to get more people to volunteer into this is, the next big COVID strike or whatever, and they come out finally with the COVID pass system, which they sort of kind of came to in like New York, and I don't know where else it was, but there was a couple of states that had this COVID passport thing.
Israel.
No, I'm talking about in the United States. In Europe, a bunch of European states had it. And
yeah, they have to incentivize it somehow by making it part of your life.
Right. What was the sign up like for that? It wouldn't surprise me if taking a photograph of yourself is like, well, we have to know it's really you. So take a photograph of yourself.
Well, New York, where the people who want to frequent bars and theater and all that, you got all of them, unless some of them quit. So yes, a huge portion of at least the urban population. Oh yeah, they're on board. And just look at all the people who are wearing masks.
Yeah.
Every single one of them would have done it, would have complied. Sure. And that was a large section of the population. Even people who didn't want to do it, they did it. They did it anyways.
I mean, it's interesting you say that, because there's a lot of that happening in China as well, where, as we've been discussing, when AI isn't enough, it sends in an actual human being, and eventually they get to a point where one of these Chinese police officers basically is living with them. This bureaucrat is living in their home, and they just pretend to be a relative or a family member.
Well, in China, all you need, there's always someone on a on a block. There's someone on your block who will tattle and who will complain. There's a Karen on every street.
If they don't, then they get in trouble.
There's a Karen on your block who doesn't need to be coerced into complaining about their neighbors. They love to do
the party, and they'll do what they're told.
It's so much worse than that. In the Xinjiang province, they have a Karen there who's appointed to be there by the state in order to watch for people to turn in.
Imagine how that makes them feel. Then they have power.
So they can wear that badge, that badge of power.
Yeah, just like the old hall monitors back in government school. Remember those guys?
I know some of those guys.
And of course, this system is ripe for abuse. It even goes on when the Uyghur Muslims are still living in the household, since the men are often afraid to interfere. When one woman complained to her husband that their Chinese relative was pressing her to give him oral sex, Turkle says, the man was terrified and insisted there was nothing they could do. The Chinese government has broken the dignity of this Uyghur man to the point where he was unwilling to protect his wife, the mother of his child. And
if he raises a hand to this other guy, they're going to just take him away.
Yeah, they'll just disappear him and his family. While the Uyghurs are being held hostage in their own homes, their history, language, culture, and religion are being systematically erased throughout their ancient homeland. The Uyghur language, closely related to Turkish, is no longer taught in local schools, and books on Uyghur history are now banned. Mosques and shrines that have stood for centuries are being razed by the hundreds.
Wow.
And it's a crime to possess a copy of the Quran. And even as ethnic Han Chinese women in Xinjiang and elsewhere are being encouraged by the party to have more babies, Uyghur women are being told to have fewer, with contraception, sterilization, and even abortion forced upon them.
It's terrifying.
Uyghur eugenics.
Yep.
Sanger would be proud.
So you're absolutely right, Conan. A lot of this is, it's more than just religious. A lot of this is racially motivated as well. They don't consider the Uyghur Muslims to be Han Chinese. They don't have the right racial history, cultural history, or whatever. And the Chinese government, they want a homogenized society. They want every individual to be more or less indistinguishable from every other individual. Yep. And the Uyghur Muslims don't fit into that.
You got to be part of the Borg. Got to be part of the collective. You can't have differing ideas. That's going to mess with our government, our way of life.
I think the last estimate I saw was something like 4 to 5 million Uyghur Muslims imprisoned in the Xinjiang province.
Wow. I wonder how many there are total.
Yeah, total Muslims living in Xinjiang.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The number here is 603-283-6160. You can join the program. You can bring up whatever you want. You want to comment on the attack against the Uyghurs, the ongoing oppression, and now using AI to do it. How long before it's going to be robots that show up to make the arrest? Won't even use
drones
humans anymore. There's more coming up. It is Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You are invited. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Coming up in July the 13th through the 16th, our very own Mark Edge will be joining thousands of passionate defenders of liberty at the Mirage in Vegas for Freedom Fest. It's the world's largest gathering of free minds, an intense and rewarding 4-day conference. Like no other, they'll be featuring big debates, world-class speakers, film festival, social events, and a trade show for liberty, and so much more. You can go to their website, freedomfest.com. Use code FTL50 to get $50 off their regular rate. They'll be featuring speakers like John Mackey, Andrew Yang, not sure why he's going to be there, but he's going to be there, Larry Sharp, Justin Amash, Glenn Beck, John Cleese, and others. You can go to freedomfest.com, code FTL50. This year's conference theme is Turning the Tide. They'll be discussing all kinds of interesting things there.
Andrew Yang at this event? Some of these things don't look like the others.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm not sure why he's going to be there, but if you want to talk to Andrew,
unless he's like maybe he's debating someone.
Perhaps.
I mean, it could be he's like a hard left libertarian.
Is he?
I don't think I've ever heard him
could
describe.
be.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard
anyone
him
who's
described as a
anyone. His whole thing is UBI. I mean, that right there is.
This is not
No,
a liberty.
there could be voluntary UBIs. I mean, we promoted Intercoin for like a year and a half. And
He's
they
not.
had
Yeah, but he's not talking about voluntary UBI.
Freedom Fest
We
doesn't.
don't know. Have you ever listened to him talk?
I saw him in the debates.
He was running as a Democrat, and I'm pretty sure he is not in favor of voluntary anything.
No,
but,
I don't think he is.
But anyway, it's not a libertarian conference. There are libertarians who speak there and who are involved in organizing it, but they have a lot of conservative speakers. It's kind of a mixed bag. They mix up the audience, they mix up the speakers, and it is an interesting show. I've been there once. I would go again if I had the chance. But I can't leave New Hampshire due to my bail conditions, but you probably can. So go to freedomfest.com and use code FTL50. You'll save $50. We go to the phones here. Dan is on the line in Maine. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Dan.
Hi. As a business owner in Maine, one thing that I've noticed over the past 3 years is that a lot of younger people aren't ready to enter the workforce. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that yourselves personally.
When you say that, can you give us some examples of why you say that?
Just a lot of the people that are applying to our business and some of the people that we employ, you would assume that, they have the basic skill of, being polite to coworkers or, making good choices at work or even just coming to work on time. Within the past year, my business personally, I've probably gone through 60 people.
Wow.
And
how big is your staff?
30, 34 people.
Okay.
What industry are you in?
Restaurant industry.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I can tell you, as someone who
some
also
people are
works
making
in the food
$20
industry.
to $30 an hour, and
Yeah, Dan, I can tell you what's happening here. Your employees aren't treated well. They're not being paid fairly, and there's a high turnover rate as they cycle in and out of jobs in order to.
Well, you don't know what he pays his employees.
I don't have to. This is ubiquitous throughout the restaurant industry, and it's been going on for decades. It sucks to work there, and the workers there tend to be underpaid. They're treated like crap, and I'm speaking from personal experience here. And when this pandemic started, the power dynamic suddenly changed, where it wasn't, oh God, I have to find a job. There's 50 people applying and there's 2 jobs available. Now there's 50 jobs available and 2 people applying. So now it's the workers who have their pick and choosing of which job they want to do and which one offers the best benefits or whatever. So they're trying out these places. It's not that you have a high turnover rate. They tried you out. They gave your company a chance. And they said, nope, this place doesn't do it for me. And they went on to find somewhere that may fit their needs. That's what's going on here.
My average,
it's not that they're not ready, it's that you're not offering them what they're looking for.
I think that's presumptuous. You don't know anything about his business.
I don't need to. It's the restaurant industry, man.
Well, he just said he's paying $20 an hour.
Yeah, well, McDonald's pays $18 an hour, but that's not going to entice me to go work for them.
It's just, I think we treat them fairly well, and I ask people what do you want?
What is the average age of these turnovers?
No, because that's looking at the wrong thing.
I don't think that it is. I think that he's on to something. I think that if it's young people, then I think it makes perfect sense.
Surveys and ask people what do you want from us in terms of pay, whatever benefits, what's the work environment like? And a lot of people aren't very honest, which I find is very odd. Just be straight. If you're not straight, then how can changes be made? Which, for me is very odd.
Now, did you say you've seen a difference recently as compared to previously, say pre-COVID? Because, are people worse now than they've ever been? Because, historically, teenagers, they don't know anything about the world, right? They're getting their first job. They probably don't have the basics down about showing up on time. That's some of the things you learn at your first job, right? Is that, if you don't already know these things, you learn it real fast because you won't keep the job if you don't get it together. Are you saying that's worse now than it's ever been?
Yeah, because, I think people, it's okay, what can you do for me versus it being a two-way street, customers come into the door for you to, they're paying for a service.
Dan, what were you offering your employees as payment 3 years ago?
3 years ago, I think we averaged around $15 or $15.50 an hour.
So when did you increase your rate to $20 per hour?
I would say over like probably last year.
Now, tell me a little bit more about
this. Is sort of suggesting my assessment of the situation is correct, and what you're dealing with now is effectively karma for underpaying people for 3 years ago.
$15 an hour is underpaid? I mean, hold on a second here, Arya.
For the crap that people in the food industry have to put up with, absolutely.
Wait a minute. Dan,
I'm not
what
saying
is
you should have to pay them more. I'm saying that, hey, you're not paying your employees well enough, and this is why they keep quitting on you. This is why they're not showing up on time. This is why you have poor workers.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, $15 an hour sounds pretty good for a few years ago.
And now we're talking about 20. That's pretty good.
It wasn't good for a few years ago. People suffered. They lived paycheck to paycheck, and they still do.
Well, now hold on a second. I get that you're into business and all, but the average, I don't know what the average restaurant worker makes, but let me clarify something here. I mean, typically when you hear people talking about working at a restaurant, they're working as waiters or waitresses. They're getting paid the waitress, rate of $3 an hour or whatever it is, $3.20 or something like that. So are you running like an ice cream stand or something? I mean, what is it that, are you talking about the kitchen staff is getting paid $15 to $20 and then the waitresses are getting, the normal rate? How's that work?
No, it's a coffee shop. It's not like a full service restaurant.
Okay.
So.
Okay, gotcha. So you're doing a coffee shop, so presumably they can make tips on top of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, Arya, what was Starbucks paying before all this went down?
Not as what? I don't know, probably $12, $13 an hour.
I bet you were paying better than Starbucks, weren't you?
Probably, but Starbucks also has the same staffing issues.
I actually looked at job postings and called around and just to see, Portland, Maine, Scarborough, Maine,
an entry level job doing washing dishes, delivering food out to the table, and making $20 an hour. That is really good.
Yeah, I mean, Arya, I get where you're coming from, but you have to also look at it from the business owner's perspective. He's in a competitive marketplace, and he's got to keep his prices down.
And he's losing, and he can't.
No,
keep
he's just saying he's losing these teenagers who don't want to work.
He's looking for solutions, and he's blaming the younger people who don't want to work, when really this is an ongoing issue that's been going on for decades because employees have been underpaid and overworked.
But hold on a second. You said you have staff, right? So do you have people that have worked there for a long time?
Yeah, I have probably 6 people that have been working for me for more than 5 years. So.
And you have a staff of about 30?
Working for us for 13 years.
I mean, one thing, I've never worked in the restaurant business, but many of my girlfriends have, and I've known people personally who have, and I've always known that it has always been a high turnover business forever. And that may be because of what you're saying. Maybe some of these managers suck and these owners suck or whatever, but I mean, can't you acknowledge that what he's saying is also true, that teenagers do not have a good work ethic in the United States? I bet you if you brought somebody in from Mexico, they would be willing to work plenty hard and not complain.
For half the cost, probably.
Yeah.
There's certainly
I'm originally not even from the States, and I came from Greece, and we don't have the opportunities in terms of pay that we have here in the States. And, imagine making $260 a month working a full-time job when you can make 5 times that here in the U.S. In terms of the cost of living, it's even less.
Dan, I would love to hear more in the future if you call in and just share, because we could keep going, but I want to make sure we get other people on the air here too.
I blame the schools.
Blame the government.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number one is the schools.
They're not preparing kids to go to work. They're preparing them to get on welfare. Thank you, Dan. Call in with more stories too, because get specific about what you've encountered, what exactly has happened, because I'm sure that would be interesting too. We got more coming up here. Thanks for the call. It's Free Talk Live.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Ukrainian commanders say the country's armed forces are continuing to battle an intensifying Russian campaign in the eastern Donbass region of the country. The city of Severodonetsk remains under siege by the Kremlin's forces, and along with neighbouring Lysychansk was described today by President Volodymyr Zelensky as being now dead. North of Donetsk, civilians are reportedly running low on food and fuel. Lesia Vasilyenko is a Ukrainian member of parliament for the pro-European Holos party.
The east, of course, is having it the worst. The Luhansk region, which is almost completely occupied, and fighting going on around the last standing city of Severodonetsk. Part of it is occupied by Russia, part of it is deoccupied by Ukrainian forces, and Ukrainian forces are making the advances. Pretty much we can go city by city in the east with certain progress for the Ukrainian army, but also the Russian advances being quite strong.
In related news, the World Bank is warning the global economy may be heading for a period of stagflation, where prices rise but growth remains weak, as FSN's Nick Harper reports from our Washington bureau.
The World Bank warning could herald a return to the 1970s, an era of stagflation, which the bank says is now on the cards for the global economy. Then, oil prices rose sharply several times over. Now, the fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine is creating supply problems and elevated prices. The bank says subdued growth will likely persist throughout the decade, which could in turn jeopardize the stability of dozens of countries worldwide.
And America's Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told senators on Tuesday the country is now facing unacceptable levels of inflation. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he will now focus on tackling the rising cost of living facing families in Britain. He's trying to move on from Monday's confidence vote, in which more than 40% of his fellow Conservative Party lawmakers failed to back him. From FSN's London bureau, Ollie Barrett with more.
Hours after winning the confidence vote in his leadership, Boris Johnson was round the cabinet table in Downing Street, insisting it's time to move on.
Thank you, by the way, everybody, for all your good work yesterday, because which was a very important day, because we were able now to draw a line under the issues that our opponents want to talk about, and we're able to get on with talking about what I think the people of this country want us to talk about.
Under current rules, Boris Johnson can't face another confidence vote from his own MPs for a year, but it's not impossible the Conservatives change those rules to try and force him out sooner.
And voters in 7 American states headed to the polls today. They're picking candidates in municipal, congressional and statewide contests with significant implications for November's midterm elections. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at the latest developments in the saga of whether Elon Musk is eventually going to own Twitter or not. It's beginning to look like he might not. On Monday, he threatened to pull his $44 billion offer for the company, saying that it is refusing to provide him with information he has requested about the number of accounts on the site that are either fake or controlled by computer bots. Twitter says only 5% of accounts fall into those categories, but Musk wants proof. FSN's technology commentator Will Guyot with more.
Well, trading experts have suggested that Musk is suffering from buyer's remorse and is now doing all he can to get a reduction in price. We've seen this takeover take many twists and turns, and there's still plenty of questions about Musk's intention to complete the deal. This letter he sent to Twitter yesterday was the first time in this process he's formally threatened to walk away. Until this point, the noise has been made in the media. So even if he does walk away from this, Elon Musk is contractually obligated to pay $1 billion to Twitter. Now that's admittedly a fraction of his estimated $220 billion fortune, but all eyes are definitely on what's next in this story.
And there was a fresh development late on Monday. The Attorney General of Texas says he's investigating Twitter over fake accounts, saying the company is potentially misleading consumers in the state. The main news again, Ukrainian commanders say the country's armed forces are continuing to battle an intensifying Russian campaign in the eastern Donbass region of the country. The World Bank is warning the global economy may be heading for a period of stagflation where prices rise but growth remains weak. And UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is vowing to focus on the country's rising cost of living, just 24 hours after he won a confidence vote among members of his own party. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
It's the video sensation that's taking the internet by storm. A web series on YouTube passed the 100 views mark this week. Titled Andrew and John, the wildly popular webisodes feature roommates Andrew Vanier and John Haney playing fictionalized versions of themselves in unusual situations, mostly set in and around their Chicago apartment.
Dude, did you get my tart? What's a tart? Oh, you just texted me a fart.
Their latest short, titled Laundry Day, reached the unprecedented 100-view milestone this week after a heavy promotional push in which the duo posted the skits to their Facebook pages. The hit video features the roommates wearing unconventional outfits while scrounging up enough change to do laundry in their basement. Other popular episodes include Foreign Landlord, featuring John's friend Brett from work, and a video where Andrew suspects John might be a zombie.
Our videos consistently get over 50 views now, but Laundry Day, that's the first one that's really taken off.
Yeah, everyone I know has seen it.
It's completely viral.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
And Conan.
We're going to get back into your phone calls and thoughts. In fact, our next caller, I'm glad he's on the line because he works in a restaurant. So I want to get his opinion on this last guy that we had on the line. The last guy that was on the line, Dan in Maine, sounded like a younger business owner.
Yep. Coffee shop guy.
Said he's running a coffee shop, and he says it's harder than ever to find employees who can do basic things like show up on time, smile at a customer. And Aria blew the guy off by saying, well, you're just not paying people enough. He says, I'm paying people $20 an hour.
Blaming everyone except the business owner here.
Chat room commented that they don't think that he was being quite serious about what he was paying some of these new entry-level teenagers. I wouldn't
They
doubt
think he was lying?
Yeah, I don't doubt it either. Maybe some of the old.
I sure as hell wouldn't want to pay him $20 an hour, but that may be what's required in the market.
Maybe some of those 6-year veterans are making $20 an hour, but I can't see a 16-year-old who's never worked a job in his life making $20 an hour. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad.
This is happening throughout the entire restaurant industry, which has been for decades railroaded as one of the worst industries to work in. And people like Dan are like, I have this huge turnover rate suddenly and I can't find any employees. Everyone is looking at everyone to blame except the people managing these places, the people owning these places.
Well, he's finding people. They just can't show up on time.
They're quitting. They're not motivated to show up on time.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe they suck.
It's not. Maybe he sucks.
All right,
that's possible.
I am in a totally different work environment. I do mail delivery. We have the exact same problems, and it's not teenagers. It's full-grown adults who can't do the job. They can't do it, and they don't. And then they decide after a week or two that they don't want to do it. They want to go back and live at mom's house or live with, or their wife works, and they,
I'm with you on this, Conan. I think it's a societal problem that's created by the government, and they don't want people to work. They want people to be lazy, and they want them to be reliant on the state.
Dependent, yeah.
Right. Based on what we've seen, though, they're not going back to live with mom or whatever when they quit these places. They're going to try out a different job and work it for 2 weeks, and if it doesn't meet their needs, they'll just try a different one.
Well, a lot of them are going back.
The last 3 people I've seen all went back to live with their spouse. Their spouse was working, and they decided they didn't want to work.
I want to go back to the phones here because Stephen is on the line in Georgia. Now, I realize, Stephen, you called in. You said you had a question for Conan. I want to get to that. But since you're not the boss, you're just the guy working in the kitchen at a major chain place in North Georgia. And that's my recollection.
Yeah.
That's still true, right?
I'm divisional management, but yeah, I mean.
Okay. Well, you're in the kitchen, though. I mean, every time you're calling in, I hear clanging and clanging in the background. So you're not sitting in an office.
Nope.
Okay. You're there on the floor.
I want to make a comment.
You're seeing the employees coming in. You're seeing them go. Can you relate at all to what Dan in Maine was talking about, or is Aria completely right and this Dan guy is just treating employees like crap, and that's why he can't hold on to them?
So there's 2 things. One, I want to know, Aria, where $20 is minimum. Like, I'll go there right now.
Yeah, me too. To wash dishes? To mop a floor?
People say that, right? But some of these places that offer $20 an hour, you get there, you might have the boss screaming at you, hey, you're not allowed to sit down while you're doing this. There's no breaks. Get back to work. $20 an hour is not enough to work for a POS boss in a hostile work environment.
Well, we have no evidence this guy is a POS. We don't know anything about him.
We don't, and I'm not saying he is. I'm saying that $20...
You were saying that.
No, I said $20 isn't necessarily enough. That's literally how I started that statement.
This guy's working in the kitchen, and he's a manager, and he isn't making $20. What do you mind saying, Stephen, what they're paying you?
So I am a certified meat cutter, a certified chef. I'm a certified gold level cert for like health inspection stuff, and I make $18.30.
Wow!
And I've been doing this for 7 years, and I have certificates from well-known institutions that say I can hold my own.
Yeah, and this guy's hiring teenagers at 18 or 19 or $20 an hour off the streets.
He says.
That's what he says. I mean, I don't disbelieve him.
At my old job, we have a 25-year-old fresh out of college making $20 an hour.
Wow, I'm in the wrong job. I need to start looking around.
I don't see why this guy's going to call in and lie about it. His whole point was to talk about his experience.
To make coffee and maybe mop the floor or clean the counter. And
it's hard to find people.
Take the trash out.
I think that the thing is, I mean, Aria's not giving him any credit whatsoever. She's jumping to conclusions, but I think that it is that hard to find people.
I've worked for people like Dan. I'm not jumping to conclusions. Throughout most of my life, I've worked for people like Dan.
You don't know anything about that guy.
He's saying that he can't keep a staff. He's got this high turnover rate. He's doing everything he can.
Yeah, you go out there and try running a business and see what it's like right now.
I've heard that crap my entire life.
Every restaurant in downtown Keene is hiring.
Yep, everyone's got a sign out.
Yasso, our favorite Jamaican place in downtown Keene, the last time I was there, which was like a week and a half ago, had a sign out hiring every position in the place, up front, back in the kitchen, you name it, she's hiring in that place. And I don't know.
You can make $20 an hour doing it. So why aren't you going to get it, Conan?
I told you during the break because my job has specific caveats that I enjoy. Basically, I work on my own. I don't have someone breathing down my throat.
So what you're saying is that
I get a vehicle
enough for you to be out there just washing dishes occasionally and occasionally mopping the floor. That's what you're saying.
If I have to maintain my own vehicle, which is something that has to be considered. So I'm always very nervous that my vehicle is going to break down. If I didn't have that looming over my shoulder, if I can just go to work, I ride my bike to work because it's right here in town. Yeah, I would mop floors for $20 an hour, sure.
Stephen, so tell me a little bit more. What are you seeing on the floor there with employees coming and going? What do you see?
Yeah, I really wanted to actually talk about that. If you weren't here before COVID, you don't last 6 months. And if you're 20 or 21 or younger, you don't last 4 months. And part of that is that restaurants are desperate. And I remember a point in time where you walk in and the kitchen, like every kitchen has its own atmosphere, but we're going to listen to death metal, we're going to listen to gangster rap, and we're going to joke around and have fun. And one of the things that's happened is you can't do that a lot of times anymore, especially in corporate kitchens. So, like, dudes come in and they say something stupid and everyone's got a negative attitude about them. and they get their head bitten off over it. And so, like, this whole I can't keep people, it's not you, dude. It's the industry. The industry can't keep people right now. If you've been doing this since before COVID, you're not staying 6 months. And you're probably going to restaurant hop.
Why is that, though, Stephen? Why can't the industry keep people? We're dancing around that issue.
Because, my opinion, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds feel entitled.
So hire 21-year-olds. Why can't you keep 21-year-olds?
Because 21-year-olds aren't leaving their jobs. People that have good kitchen jobs aren't leaving their good kitchen job. Like,
right, they can go to the boss and say, "Give me a raise, and I'll stick with you," and they're staying. Is what you're saying?
Well, not only that, but we have a few people here that left for 3 or 4 months, and they came and they're like, "Hey, man, I'll take a pay cut, but can I come back?" Like, and that happens regularly. And I think some of that doesn't have to do with me, but it has to do with some of the other managers that are just, like, super chill. And, like, this place still has a soul. And you're like, in the back you hear pots clanging, but I'm surprised you don't hear death metal, right? And we allow them to have fun, and we encourage them to come in and be happy. And when somebody does something stupid, we allow it to be addressed.
But you're saying young people don't have what it takes because they have been indoctrinated to expect everything handed them on a silver platter. They're not willing to do the work. They're lazy. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And there is certainly truth to that.
And it's that, and it's I guess people want their own community, and when they don't get it, they get upset. So we had a guy here who had a MAGA hat on, and we had a girl who was like, "He needs to take that off." And I was like, actually, he's not in the dining room, so he doesn't. If he was in the dining room, I asked him to take it off because I don't want to hear people say anything.
Sure.
But no, you don't get to dictate what that person wears.
Stephen, hold that thought here. We're going to continue, bring you back here in just a moment. I know he had originally called in with a question for Conan, so I want to make sure he gets a chance to get to that. Plus, your calls and thoughts are welcome. If you're in the industry, you're in the hospitality industry, you work in restaurants, whether you're in management or you're just in the back in the kitchen or up front or whatever, and you want to weigh in on this discussion, feel free. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Free Talk Live.
So, yeah, Mark, they did ban all foreign flags from being flown in the event that they are the only flag being flown. But nonetheless, I mean,
it's the flying of a flag?
$50 fine and 30 hours of community service.
That's dumb. This doesn't really even affect
What do you think, this is the land of the free?
Most of the Mexican flags I see are CDs hanging from people's rearview mirrors, stickers.
I think we could qualify that.
That's not a flag.
It doesn't look like a flag. Got them colors on it.
No.
We're going to
It's a
charge you
CD.
$50 fine. $50. That's
And
right.
that CD, what if the CD has music on it?
Don't matter. It's a flag.
It's not a flag. It's a CD.
If you're flying it
Clearly,
like a flag,
sir,
it's a flag, my friend.
It's not a flag. It's hanging from fishing wire from my rearview mirror.
Hanging equals flag.
No, hanging does not
Flag
equal flag.
equals $50 fine. Pay up.
Well, I have a...
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. Phones are open, especially if you're in the hospitality business and you want to weigh in on, is it that much harder to find good help these days? It sure as hell seems like it. And that's from me looking on the outside in. I see help wanted signs everywhere I go. And
It's
just in
not
restaurants.
just the restaurants.
Yeah, not just in restaurants. But certainly those have always been a high turnover business.
With incentives posted underneath. So signing bonuses or... we'll move you for free if we need to.
Some of them are also dishonest about their incentives. So I saw one online today that is like, we're going to pay you $16 an hour. Okay, that seems promising.
Is
right?
there an asterisk next to it?
Up to $16.
Well, it's even worse than that. The pay rate is actually $13 an hour plus benefits, and they're estimating that the benefits are worth $3 an hour. So
Was that a corporate place or a local?
Yeah, it was corporate. So there's still a lot of shady stuff like that going on in these places, and that's how some of these places get to their, we're paying $18 an hour or whatever. Okay, but they're actually paying you $15 an hour.
Right. Or they might feed you lunch for free or something.
Yes, they might also.
And
they'll
they'll tack that onto your hourly.
By the way, speaking of food, grab some Truth Smacks and help do some outreach to people that need to hear the ideas of freedom, because on the back of the bags of this amazing trail mix brand are some really awesome truth-related quotes. And essentially, like I said, it's like an outreach tool, basically. You can get to people through their stomachs because Suzanne, a former English teacher and a longtime truth seeker, has started her own trail mix brand. She's making it, bagging it, and sealing it herself in a commercial kitchen down in Naples, Florida. And she calls it Truth Smacks because there's a heavy dose of truth on the back of every bag. They got two flavors. One is the original and another peppermint infused. It's available in 2 sizes as well. Truthsmacks.com/shop. That's truthsmacks.com/shop. It's made with all raw, unadulterated ingredients. This is good stuff. It's only food as nature intended. Truthsmacks.com/shop. They're spreading truth one delicious morsel at a time. We go back to Stephen in Georgia. He works in restaurants. He's been in there for at least the last 7 years. Has it all been with the same company, or have you been kind of moved around or here and there?
So it's kind of been with the same company. Well, it's been with different companies. But when COVID went down and the company that I worked for shut down, I stayed with my boss.
I see.
And yeah, so he got a job, and then I was like, I want to work for you. And he's like, all right, come on. And now, in a weird turn of events, we are peers, which is really fun.
So you're saying that the young people that are coming in there are completely useless. Like most of them, they're not sticking it out. They don't know the basics of just showing up on time and having a good attitude.
No, that's not it. That's what I said. I apologize. What it is they haven't been ever told they're wrong. And in this industry,
You did use the term entitled.
If you say something, well, yeah, they're entitled, and they feel like, hey, I don't have to scrub that, or I don't have to do this, and you should just give me $12 an hour to wait tables plus tips. Like, I've had that conversation. The big issue that I have with a lot of these young people is, one, they're dishonest, and two, they can't stand competing ideas. So I work here 60 hours a week. I listen to the radio show. I talk politics, and somebody told me that I was a domestic terrorist, and I was like, why? Let's have an honest conversation. And she shoved her hands into her ears, shoved her fingers into her ears, and went, la, 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 la.
Dude, we've had callers that do that.
I said, you don't get to do that here. Either go home, don't bring it up, or get ready to have a legitimate, articulate conversation. You pick.
Nice.
And she calls her mommy.
Wow.
I mean, there definitely is that mentality. I mean, among people, as you said, I think 18 to 21, 22-year-olds, somewhere around there. Yeah, the younger generation, there is a lot of that entitled mentality among them. But at the place one of our best employees was also one of these. One of our worst employees was one of these 20-year-old, worthless people who can't take criticism, has to be coddled, and you can't say anything. You can't have any fun conversations around them, or they're going to scream that they're offended. And the other one's pretty much the same age, but actually a good worker.
They probably had good parents who taught them good values.
They didn't, though. They're upper middle class. Their parents are professors at the university.
Wow.
They've been spoiled and coddled their entire life.
How the hell did they end up that way?
I don't know. But
well,
they
maybe
did.
it's the standard, like teenagers. They turn the opposite way from their parents, right? So if their parents were coddling them, they said, you know what, I want to be more independent. Stephen, you called with a question for Conan. Go ahead.
Yeah. And side note, I'm working, so if the clacking gets a little loud, feel free to just turn me off.
You're good, man. Go ahead.
Or mute me or whatever. So, Conan, last time you were on the show, you and Aria got in a little conversation about, and here's what I believe you said, Russia will live 200 more years, but the United States won't make it one more year. You believe that a few states up there are going to separate. My question to you is, what plan, because I know you're a prepper, you even mentioned it before, what are your plans to expand the territory of volunteerism in a post-collapse world?
Well, I've been trying for the last 10 years, being here in Keene, doing my urban gardening. I raise chickens, I raise rabbits, and my garden is huge. You can see it from Google, the Google Maps, and everyone in my neighborhood knows who I am. This could be a bad thing, because the first step in prepping is you don't tell people you're a prepper. I've been trying to introduce this to my neighbors. They're all really intrigued. They're all all happy for me. But if it hits the fan, I already know where they're going to go. Now the first wave might not make it through, but I only have so much ammo. But that's firsties is I'm trying to live by example. I'm trying to prove that it's possible. With the exception of animal feed for my chickens and for my rabbits, I am 100% self-sufficient. I grow enough food that I would never have to walk into a store to buy anything. I do go, to Aldi's. I buy milk, I buy crackers, and I buy bean burrito wraps every now and then. But
you could live without those.
But yes, I could live without those. So at the moment, they're icing on the cake. But I am 100% self-sufficient. This year, I plan to grow enough types of plants that my chickens and my rabbits could survive off of, that will prevent me from having to go to the Tractor Supply where I get my feed. So yes, number one is live by example, and I'm just hoping that people will stop growing flowers and actually start growing something that they can eat.
So to answer his question, you're saying you're helping people understand the way to be self-sufficient. For instance, Aria and Bonnie have taken to gardening. I think you were an influence, a big influence.
And start small. Start with something that you can actually manage, 100 square foot, 10 by 10. anyone could do that. And when you start figuring out what actually grows in your region, what's possible, and when you figure out all of the rocks and the roots that you have to dig up, so there's a lot of infrastructure involved. You have to set up shop early on, because I've been doing it for 10 years and I'm still not as big as I want to be.
There you go, Stephen. Thanks.
But as far as voluntarism, step one, do it first. Prove that you can do it. And you can prove to yourself that it is actually possible before you start trying to preach to other people what they should do.
Thank you, Stephen, for the call tonight. I appreciate it. We got more coming up, and you can join us here on Free Talk Live.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Oscar-winning actor Matthew McConaughey has been in Washington to campaign for action on gun law reform. He fought back tears as he spoke to reporters at the White House about meeting the families of the victims of the school shooting in his hometown of Uvalde, Texas. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed when a gunman opened fire in their classroom. FSN's Washington correspondent Kate Fisher reports.
Fresh from lobbying lawmakers on Capitol Hill and a meeting with President Biden, Matthew McConaughey shared some of the victims' personal stories, their lives and dreams for the future.
Now, Alethea, her dream was to go to art school in Paris and one day share her art with the world. Now, Maite wanted to be a marine biologist. She was already in contact with Corpus Christi University of A&M for her future college enrollment.
He said that now was the time to act on gun reform.
We need to raise the minimum age to purchase an AR-15 rifle to 21. We need a waiting period for those rifles. We need red flag laws and consequences for those who abuse them. Responsible gun owners are fed up with the Second Amendment being abused and hijacked by some deranged individuals.
It comes as delicate negotiations continue in the Senate, with Democrats trying to win support from enough Republicans to pass a bill on gun control measures.
Voters in 7 U.S. states have gone to the polls. They're picking candidates in municipal, congressional, and statewide contests with significant implications for the November midterm elections. FSN's U.S. correspondent Rachel Silverman has this report from San Francisco.
California, Iowa, Montana, New Mexico, South Dakota, New Jersey, and Mississippi are all holding primaries. With Democratic control of the U.S. House and Senate on the line in this year's midterm elections, the races for those chambers are drawing attention. But state and local races also have significant consequences. New state laws targeting abortion, guns, and voting rights are shining a spotlight on the state and local officials responsible for signing or enforcing those measures. Rachel Silverman, San Francisco.
U.S. markets posted solid gains Tuesday despite fresh worries over the health of the retail sector. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
Traders shrugged off those concerns to close the day in the green. The Dow ended up 0.8%, the S&P 1%, and the Nasdaq closed up 0.9%.
And Ukraine's military says that Russia has handed over the bodies of 210 Ukrainian fighters. Most of these soldiers were killed at the Azovstal steel plant in the city of Mariupol, where Ukrainian fighters made their last stand against the Russian offensive to take over the city. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
is Free Talk Live. You can join us here and bring up what you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. We talk about how to prepare yourself for the end of the nation state as we know it. Well, having a garden's a good plan, as Conan had suggested, and having some alternative currency is also a good one. Get over to Bitcoin.com and learn about cryptocurrency. Click Get Started at the top of the page. You will find lots of great introductory information there to give you the basics about crypto, like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, over at Bitcoin.com. Again, just click Get Started at the top of the page. If you're not brand new to crypto and you want to get the latest news headlines, they've got them for you every single day over at news.bitcoin.com. We are going to go back to your calls and thoughts. Sarah is on the line in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live, Sarah.
Yes, I just want to bring up that. Do you remember that I brought up that school bus that got hit by a speeder that got flipped over?
Yeah, that's right. Flipped on its side. The families are going to throw a lawsuit against the speeder in the white car, and then the APS, the school board, and then also the school driver. And why? Why was the driver at fault? They got T-boned.
Well, you know what? That's the logic of this. I heard this. It's like, is this kind of like overstretched, frivolous lawsuit? And what they,
it sounds like it.
Yeah, it is. Well, what they left out is the city. They need to sue the city for removing the speeding cameras and red light cameras for these people were speeding and drag racing. So they are suing.
I'm sorry, Sarah, but the city
them.
will not be held liable for removing a red light camera because somebody decided to go and speed at 100 miles an hour down the street.
Crazier things have happened.
They will not be held liable for that. They are immune from any kind of liability and
for removing a sign, a stop sign.
No, she said red light cameras.
I thought it was.
Well, the thing
and
is
besides, a guy going 100 miles an hour doing a drag race doesn't give a damn about a stop sign.
Yeah. But if there was a stop sign that was there and someone removed it and then the accident happened, I think you could hold whoever removed it as liable.
I don't know. It's hard as hell to hold government in any way liable or accountable. It's very, very difficult to do that. There are some very limited circumstances.
Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing?
No, the thing is that I like the part that they want to sue the driver that hit him, and then his insurance company. Yes, but why are they jacking up the driver? Why are they jacking up the APS, the school? But just because they got a bottomless pit? I mean, just to extort money?
Because this is our culture, Sarah. People are just mean like that. They're jerks. They're like, well, where's the money at? Well, here's an option. Here's an option. Here's an option. Let's sue them all. Let's just throw whatever. Let's just throw whatever sticks see what sticks to the wall, and we'll get a nice fat paycheck.
I'm okay with frivolous lawsuits against the government. I mean, if even 1 in 100 wins and the government loses, they have to fight off these lawsuits, and
but then the taxpayers are paying for it.
But collapse the system faster.
With the exception of the driver, the drag racer, the other two entities, that's taxpayer. So my question is, why have they decided to sue the bus driver, who was just doing his job, and someone decided to T-bone him? Now that's crap.
That guy's got no money. He's a damn bus driver. You can't get money out of a stone.
That's why they're going to go for the APS. Okay, the guy's got minimum. There's nothing to get out of him. That's like blood out of a turnip. So then now they're going to go to the school, the bottomless pit.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to get anything out of the school. I'll guarantee you on that.
Like I said, weirder things have happened. People have gotten criminals breaking into some dude's house, burglars, cut themselves, entering into the window, sued the owner. But I'm saying there have been weirder suits that have won money for the criminal.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And thank you for the call here. They're not saying the criminal's going to be suing. The criminal's going to be sued in this case. The man who was doing the drag race. Aria, I mean, I'm all in favor of stick it to the state if they've done something wrong. But in this case, I mean, this is a school bus driver driving some kids home.
But the taxpayer suffers though.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. No one knows where the money comes from. No one knows where the food comes from. No one knows where the Sarah, your red light cameras, your speeding cameras, you don't know where that comes from. Woman?
It's a private corporation that installed those.
Well,
things.
and who paid for it? Who paid that private corporation to install all those?
taxpayers.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah doesn't understand how that works because she doesn't pay taxes.
But Ian, you're right, and I would walk my statement back a bit. I'm not a fan of frivolous lawsuits against the state unless the state has done something wrong. Even if it's a minor transgression against you, they did something wrong. Hold them accountable.
I totally agree with you there. Let's go to Major Payne. He's on the line in Michigan. Go ahead, Major.
Yeah, this family probably didn't have any money and hired an ambulance chaser. And going right, they'll throw everything against the wall to see what sticks. Sue everybody around the pond.
Yep.
Right.
But anyway, Sarah brought up some interesting stuff a while back, but I don't want to delve into that. It's like where Crisco came from. That's a leftover from World War II.
What were you calling about then?
Submarine
lieutenant? What?
Yeah, Crisco. Hydrogenated oil. That way if the sub got hit in the ass, it wouldn't leave a blood trail.
Wait, how does that explain how this works? They
hydrogenated vegetable oil. They feel just like using it for gear fluid in your transmission. It gets warm, it turns back into oil, it lubes whatever. But if you're harpooned, it doesn't float leave that black blood trail,
Oh, interesting. So they decided it was good enough to spread on toast and feed it to us.
Hey, there's a lot of interesting things that came from the military, like the microwave oven. They discovered that when they were putting up the radar dishes just before World War II in Hawaii. One of the operators was sitting there with a chocolate bar in his top pocket, and the damn thing melted.
Really?
and then he died from radiation 2 years later.
Did he really?
I don't know. I'm guessing.
Wow. It very well could have. I know one of my buddies grew horns on his neck, died of Agent Orange, so did some of his kids just past due.
Damn.
But yeah, that's what I got to say too.
All right, Major. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
I want to make sure I understand what he was saying about Crisco. So they basically used it in place of oil because if a
lubricant.
Yeah. So because if a submarine gets hit, it's going to leak oil, which is a liquid, and it's going to
leave
a trail. But Crisco presumably
does not.
He said it would sink.
It floats. Right? I think it floats.
Oh, okay.
Because
that's just bizarre.
Interesting story.
I've never heard that, and I would never have given that any thought whatsoever. So thank you for that, Major Payne.
People stop eating Crisco and margarine.
I never really thought it was considered food, was it? Is this gross?
I grew up eating the stuff, and now I know what I know, and oh my God. Hey, you know what? If the bugs won't eat it, if you can take a tub of margarine, put it on your porch,
and flies ignore it,
and just let it sit there for weeks.
Oh God!
And the bugs won't eat it.
Really?
You don't want to mess with it.
That's creepy.
It is. That's all I'm saying. I do lard, olive oil, coconut oil. That's it.
Yeah.
Beef tallow.
I do olive oil.
The natural stuff seems to have made a comeback.
Well, they say that peanut oil and castor oil and all those are natural too, but when you consider the processes, when they the very lengthy processes, then they got to bleach it afterwards, and no, it's not natural. There's nothing natural about it.
We can all agree that Crisco is not natural.
Well, I mean, it's a natural lubricant for submarines.
Okay, and I'm okay if people want to use it for that purpose, but don't feed it to your kids. Well, it's a bad idea to feed it to your kids, so please don't.
Coming up, we got the metaverse, another alleged rape that has occurred in the metaverse.
Supposedly.
Yeah, well, I got video.
Allegedly.
So if you want to see it, Conan.
I think this is just the next wave of metaverse police. They want to set the police up before the metaverse gets up and running.
I've got a story here from the Davos
World
Economic
Forum.
Forum.
Take this article with a big fat grain of salt. I think it's a setup.
The UAE minister says that serious crime in the metaverse should be outlawed by the United Nations.
Yeah. More control.
So
they want to get control before they unroll it.
Yeah, we're just talking about a video game here. There's more coming up in moments. You can join us. It is Free Talk Live. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. We invite you to join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
Aria.
And Conan.
You can bring up whatever you want, and that is the point here on Free Talk Live. I want to thank Bonnie Nestat, who is a Free Talk Live supporter of our AMPS program. It's a Patreon, and she is a gold level supporter, which means Bonnie is contributing at least $10 a month to the show. Really appreciate it. You can join her over at amps.freetalklive.com. That's amps.freetalklive.com. And you get some cool perks. You get some benefits for joining up there and helping us spread the ideas of liberty as far and as wide as possible. It's amps.freetalklive.com. So, Conan, we got another story Because this isn't the first time. It was, 3 months ago maybe or something like that? It's been a couple months since the last supposed metaverse rape.
Which doesn't even make sense.
I can't wait to hear what these people are crying about, because I've seen the video and it's stupid, but it's not a rape.
It's someone who has never played a video game in their life and has never been teabagged, because that's
exactly it. I was going to mention that as well. It's like saying that getting teabagged in
that's humiliating, and it's happened.
What is a teabag?
It's happened to all of us.
Can you describe it on the radio?
This was not teabagging.
Can you describe teabagging on the radio? Because it sounds a little dirty. I don't know if you can do that.
It's when you defeat someone in a video game and you go and you basically sit on top of
you squat on their face.
I see.
Up and down, up and down, up and down, and it's humiliating because you got
got
ganked.
Is what it is.
Yeah,
it's something kids do.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that's happened here, except this is not that level at all. Disturbing accounts of women being sexually assaulted and harassed in the metaverse are racking up, according to online watchdogs. One 21-year-old woman says she was raped within 1 hour of being in the metaverse, according to a new report.
I hope if this woman ever encounters a real rape victim that they slap this person. Like this is such an insult to an actual victim of actual bodily violations of their, privates. And it's insane to say Ian, anything like that.
All of these terms are being redefined.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Racism is redefined. Rape is redefined. These kids that won't go to work and work in the restaurants that we were talking about before, they're redefining and making up all these new words so they can be a victim.
Yeah, they don't know the difference. To them, all of these things are interchangeable. Sexual harassment, sexual assault, and rape, they're all the same thing to these people who are under the age of 25 or so. Like, I see it all the time on Facebook where someone talks about, some experience where they were sexually harassed, and they interchangeably use words like I was sexually assaulted or I was raped or whatever, and you came to find out it was like some
dude was hitting on her.
Yeah. So they don't even know the difference, man.
It's sad. This, according to a new report from Some of Us, a nonprofit advocacy organization and online community that campaigns to hold corporations accountable for a variety of alleged infractions. The report,
they're a fun bunch,
titled Metaverse, Another Cesspool of Toxic Content, takes a deep dive into allegations of a woman being virtually gang raped.
Imagine doing this with your life. Imagine being like, I want to be a journalist. And then you go to journalism school and you get a career, and then you're writing an article about a woman getting raped in a video game.
Like I said, take this whole article with a big fat grain of salt. We need
take
to
it with a shot of vodka
and yes.
That's the only way it's going to make sense.
Well, that's what allegedly happened here. Was they forced virtual alcohol on this woman and held her against her will.
Who took it and consumed it.
Well,
what's that all about?
I don't know.
How can you force someone to take it out of their hands and actually drink from it?
I mean, we don't know how the game is programmed here. It's possible she was reaching up to push it away, and the game is programmed to transfer the bottle to her hand.
Yeah,
we have no idea.
They get into it where apparently, I'm sure it's mentioned in your article, Conan, but apparently the Horizon Worlds, which is the new Facebook metaverse thing,
where they don't even have their torsos. It's worth remembering that she got raped by a torso.
They have something called a personal boundary. So the first time this rape thing happened, Facebook said, okay, well, we've got this feature. It's personal boundary. You can turn it on. Now, apparently it's set default on, which means that...
So she turned hers off.
So she must have turned hers off.
Yes, but if you leave it on, you can't even talk to other people.
It says you just can't. It says that people just cannot come near your avatar. They have to stay 4 virtual feet away.
I was under the impression it also meant you wouldn't hear them and they wouldn't hear you.
I don't know about that.
The young
maybe another option.
Because otherwise they could say something offensive,
yeah,
and
rape your ears.
Raped you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what these people would say, dude. They're nuts.
You're hurting my ears with your sexual assault.
Right. One might say we're raping your ears.
That is actually a term. When I'm listening to the gangster rap, that's the term that I use.
Hey, baby, I've really got a thing for low-res human torsos.
Oh, God.
Because that's what we're talking about here, by the way. These characters do not have anything below the waist. There is nothing there. There's no legs. There's no crotch. They start at the belly button, and they go up to the head, and that's it.
They have Minecraft arms, right? They don't have hands and fingers or whatever. It's just a solid... it's a rectangle is their arm. They're floating I was shocked by the really low frame rate, right? This is not high fidelity. There's no mistaking this for the real world. If you're wearing a 3D headset, you're not going to think, oh my God, is this real life? No, you're obviously playing this crappy.
It's so low res. It's so
terrible.
crap.
And it's just a torso of someone standing there. Well, floating.
Yeah, floating.
there.
Everybody floats in Horizon Worlds. All right, what else, Conan?
The young woman who works as a researcher for the group.
Works.
The group is some of us.
She is paid to research, quote, rapes in the virtual world.
Was led into a private room at a party on Horizon Worlds, a metaverse platform released by Meta last December in the U.S. and Canada.
I would like to see the rest of this clip now.
That allows users to gather with others, play games, and build their own virtual worlds. She has claimed her avatar was then raped by a user while another watched and passed around a virtual bottle of vodka, and others could be seen watching through a window.
Hold on. I've been to a fair number of parties, and you never go to the back room with someone holding a video camera and a bottle of liquor
that you don't know, and
unless you know what's about to go down. And if you don't know, just take a look around, and it should be obvious, oh, that's what's about to go down.
So I would love to see the rest of this clip. There's video. We watched it during the break. It's not worth playing on the air because it's just, some salacious comments.
The 30 seconds that we saw was just it's a party, and it's just no, we don't need to watch any more of this.
But what happened beforehand? That's what I want to know. What did they say to her about why they needed to take her to the back room? Did she go to the back room because she knew something bad was going to happen and she wanted
How could you
this?
not, if this happened in real life, right? I mean, just imagine being in that situation where these two dudes, one of them standing there with a video camera, a bottle of liquor, and the other guy's like, hey, let's go to the back room here at this party, right? And what if what happened in the video happened in real life, where you got one guy pressing against her, the other guy trying to shove out alcohol down her throat while videotaping? Okay, yeah, you're probably breaking some laws there.
No doubt.
But this is a video game. None of this is actually happening.
No, you could hit log out at any time that you wanted to.
And she took that bottle of vodka. She took a swig.
I don't know about that.
Man.
I think she just grabbed the thing and she set it down on the window.
After she took a swig.
I think that's just
the way
it looked. I don't know.
I saw it.
Conan's right. She got drunk and she was in this questionable situation. She was asking for it.
In a chilling video clip released by some of us, one avatar is recorded saying, "Check this out. It's a free show. Oh, getting it. Get down with that gritty, you heard?" Meanwhile, the bystander avatar responds with, "You're going to need more of this, shorty," while passing the virtual bottle around. Hey, a free show. The avatar is then heard shouting. When a user
the fully clothed avatars.
Yes.
Well, actually, the fully clothed torsos.
Yes.
Fully clothed torso.
Because the avatar you have on Snapchat and Facebook's horrible avatars are better than what you see in Horizon Worlds.
Facebook, this isn't Facebook?
It is, but
this is Facebook's product.
Yeah.
No, it's Meta's product. And Facebook is a separate entity. You have an avatar on Facebook.
It's the same company.
If you've ever gone through to make your avatar on Facebook, you have an avatar.
I didn't know
on
that
Facebook.
was an option.
It's an option. It's very simple. They got the idea from Snapchat once Snapchat did it. And those avatars look better than what you find in Horizon's world.
Now here's how Horizon works. So here's some of the mechanics.
And they have legs.
When a user is touched by another in the metaverse, the hand controllers vibrate, creating a very disorienting and even disturbing physical experience during a virtual assault. It happens.
He made my hand vibrate.
It happened so fast. I was kind of disassociated. One part of my brain was like, WTF is happening. The other part was like, this isn't a real body. And another part was like, this is important research.
You ain't gonna make it. This person is not gonna make it.
This can't be real, man. This has to be like one of those crazy Onion articles that you get from here's this teacher who was forcing kids to be trans or whatever. This can't be real.
The watchdog also noted that the VR users have long reported problems with sexual harassment, verbal abuse, racial slurs, and invasion of personal space on a myriad of apps.
But I believe that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of punk kids in there, and they got nothing better to do. It's more coming up.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover springs her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Oscar-winning actor Matthew McConaughey has been in Washington to campaign for action on gun law reform. He fought back tears as he spoke to reporters at the White House about meeting the families of the victims of the school shooting in his hometown of Uvalde, Texas. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed when a gunman opened fire in their classroom. FSN's Washington correspondent Kate Fisher reports.
Fresh from lobbying lawmakers on Capitol Hill and a meeting with President Biden, Matthew McConaughey shared some of the victims' personal stories, their lives and dreams for the future.
Now, Alethea, her dream was to go to art school in Paris and one day share her art with the world. Maite wanted to be a marine biologist. She was already in contact with Corpus Christi University of A&M for her future college enrollment.
He said that now was the time to act on gun reform.
We need to raise the minimum age to purchase an AR-15 rifle to 21. We need a waiting period for those rifles. We need red flag laws and consequences for those who abuse them. Responsible gun owners are fed up with the Second Amendment being abused and hijacked by some deranged individuals.
It comes as delicate negotiations continue in the Senate, with Democrats trying to win support from enough Republicans to pass a bill on gun control measures.
Voters in 7 U.S. states have gone to the polls. They're picking candidates in municipal, congressional, and statewide contests with significant implications for the November midterm elections. FSN's U.S. correspondent Rachel Silverman has this report from San Francisco.
California, Iowa, Montana, New Mexico, South Dakota, New Jersey, and Mississippi are all holding primaries. With Democratic control of the U.S. House and Senate on the line in this year's midterm elections, the races for those chambers are drawing attention. But state and local races also have significant consequences. New state laws targeting abortion, guns, and voting rights are shining a spotlight on the state and local officials responsible for signing or enforcing those measures. Rachel Silverman, San Francisco.
U.S. markets posted solid gains Tuesday despite fresh worries over the health of the retail sector. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
Traders shrugged off those concerns to close the day in the green. The Dow ended up 0.8%, the S&P 1%, and the Nasdaq closed up 0.9%.
And Ukraine's military says that Russia has handed over the bodies of 210 Ukrainian fighters. Most of these soldiers were killed at the Azovstal steel plant in the city of Mariupol, where Ukrainian fighters made their last stand against the Russian offensive to take over the city. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, a look at life returning to some semblance of normality in Shanghai after more than 2 months of strict COVID-19 lockdowns. China's financial capital became ground zero in the government's continuing zero-tolerance efforts when it comes to COVID-19. Health authorities say the strict rules have brought the virus situation under control. FSN's Richard Kimber has this update from our bureau in Hong Kong.
There's no indication from the Chinese authorities that they want to move away from their so-called zero COVID policy, which means there may be possibilities for similar types of strict measures in future. There are around 2.5 million businesses in the city that are now operating without restrictions as the virus cases in the city have continued to fall. There's now just been a handful every day, but it's not quite all plain sailing for Shanghai residents. There are still a number of hurdles to overcome, including regular COVID-19 testing taking place across the city, and some neighborhoods are still deemed to be high risk and are being locked down, but that now represents a tiny fraction of the number of residential areas and businesses that will be back to life as normal again.
But there are international concerns about the long-term impact of China's zero COVID policy. The head of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, warned recently that it is not attainable in any country, and chasing the goal could lead to more damage than the policy prevents. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. Actor Matthew McConaughey fights back tears as he speaks at the White House about meeting the families of the victims of the school shooting in his hometown of Uvalde, Texas. Voters in 7 U.S. states have gone to the polls. They're picking candidates in statewide contests with significant implications for the November midterm elections. And the markets close with solid gains despite fresh worries over the retail sector. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer reporting.
Following reports of a newly posted job listing at area marketing firm Swenson Digital, The Onion spoke to a few of the 1,400 applicants who claim they are, quote, absolutely perfect for this position.
When I first saw this opening, I knew it was right for me. I've got tons of experience. I've got all the skills they're looking for.
If you look at my resume, I've got everything they're looking for. I mean, I've held similar jobs like this in the past. I'm extremely driven. I really think this is going to work out.
I've got a BA in marketing, which the posting said was recommended, so I think that'll bode really well for me. I've had plenty of team experience, and I think that would stand out. Not to mention the fact that I'm great with
web design and HTML, and pretty proficient with Excel and PowerPoint. Also, I think the culture is
very me, you know. I think I'd fit in well with the other employees. I also think I had a great
resume and cover letter. I think as soon as they interview me, they'll see I'm the perfect candidate.
As of this video's release, Swenson Digital had extended a job offer to an applicant who happens to be a friend of the boss's son.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. We're kicking off another hour here, the third hour of the show. The phones are open at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We are talking about the metaverse, something that I don't think anybody on this show has any real drive to actually go and experience. But it is going to be pushed very heavily by mega tech corporations such as Meta, which is the name that Facebook rebranded itself as because they're bigger than Facebook now in their mind. They bought the Oculus.
They want to be, but their other products are just terrible.
This is being pushed by the elite. The Davos folk. They want this to happen because this is part of their plan. This is part of their program.
On, man. People just aren't interested.
Just like bugs aren't catching on. Just like the pods aren't catching on either as fast as they would want it to. But it's coming. It's coming down the pike. It's going to happen one day, especially when you consider, you can't go anywhere because you can't afford fuel to get there.
Yeah.
And as long as you have someone like me delivering all your groceries, you could stay in your pod and you can stay. What are you going to do in your pod? The one that you can't really move around. You can reach one hand out, touch one wall. You can reach your hand out and touch the other wall.
Go into the metaverse.
You're going to go into the metaverse to hang out.
So they're pushing this thing. And And there are these so-called researchers who are going into the metaverse on what is called Meta's Horizon Worlds app.
And we quoted her a minute ago. This is proof that what she experienced wasn't even remotely analogous to rape. She had 3 thoughts during this process. The first one was something like, this can't really be happening. The second one was, this isn't a real body. And the third thought, which no rape victim
should I go through it?
No rape victim in the history of humanity has ever thought was, this is valuable research. That's how you know this wasn't a rape.
And the next thing you know, there's going to be another report by some progressive, some Cenk Uyghur type, some Bernie Sanders type. He's going to write about how, well, you know what? She really was into it. Because all women are. Well, and then it's going to be Handmaidens 2.0.
She did go into a back room with 2 strangers with alcohol. I mean,
all they were missing was the black casting couch, man.
Well, they were black guys apparently, or at least at
least they sounded
their images were
urban.
But the story here from someofus.org. So this is
the actual article they wrote.
This is their 12-page report on what they experienced in the metaverse, and I'm on page number 5, where they've sort of just been talking about Meta and its acquiring of all these VR companies and buying different virtual reality games and owning these things. And then they go into the claim that harassment and abuse is rampant. Then in the section called Sexual Violence and Sexual Harassment, there's actually written trigger warning in all caps. So for all those who are just too sensitive to even read the description of what happened in the metaverse here. They say minimal moderation allows toxic behavior to thrive, normalizing sexual harassment, especially toward female-appearing and female-sounding avatars. In May of 2022, some of us researchers, and it's spelled, by the way, S-U-M of us, went into the metaverse and were astonished by how quickly they encountered sexual harassment. The disturbing accounts below.
What is this, their first time on the internet?
Yes, obviously.
Must be. Or maybe it's their first time in any kind of an environment with other people on the internet.
Any female who has ever created a Facebook account or an Instagram account knows that it doesn't take long before she's being sexually harassed.
And this is metaverse. This sounds just like that one researcher who put a body cam on and walked through the streets of New York for like a whole hour, and she recorded all the dudes that were catcalling. And she was all upset about the sexual harassment, and there was no one put a hand on her. No, none of it was bad. It was all, hey, girl, hey,
sure.
And she was mad about that. It's the same thing here, except it's 12-year-olds.
The disturbing accounts below offer a deeper glimpse into the harmful sexual content on a largely unregulated metaverse.
That's what it's all about right there.
Yeah, they want the government to come in here.
And by the way, I have their list of 3 requests that they want to get
from the government
to make happen.
Yeah. So then they get into the story, which you already told us about, Conan, about the woman who went into a back room at a party where she was quote unquote raped by these 2 torsos, by the way. Again, no legs, no genitals, nothing like that. And then they actually link to the clip here. But then there's more where they talk about the woman we spoke about a few months ago. So the beta tester for Horizon Worlds filed a complaint again, when this was in beta, that her, quote, avatar had been groped by a stranger, unquote.
I don't like this, as you said that, as you described her being raped, it occurred to me that, you could say she was digitally assaulted or digitally battered or something like that, but then you realize how absolutely moronic is. Like, I play online games, and a lot of those I do player versus player content, and I get killed by other players. But to say that
you got killed on the internet,
right? I can't come into work. I need some time to cope because I
got
just
killed.
Got murdered. It's absolutely insane.
And then teabagged.
Yeah,
and no one would take it seriously. Everyone would say, "What the hell are you talking about? Get back to whatever it is you're trying to do." But when it's someone in the metaverse, suddenly we're not treating it like it's just absolute hysteria.
Not yet.
But it is.
I mean, that's what's coming. This is what's coming.
I'm not trying to defend the teenagers or whatever and their bad behavior on the internet here, but you could argue this woman asked for it.
Mm-hmm. By the way,
I'm not even going to say that in the digital sense.
And by the way, she turned. We were talking about earlier. She turned her boundary, her physical boundary.
The article comments on that. It says, quote, "The Sum of Us researcher noted how quickly she encountered sexual assault on the platform after another user encouraged her to disable the personal boundaries setting." So she was manipulated by another user to turn off the setting that would have prevented the horrific rape from occurring, because the boundary setting prevents other avatars that you aren't friends with from coming within a 4-foot virtual foot radius.
And by the way, Miss Researcher, it sounded like teenagers to me. You got manipulated. You got groomed by some kids.
I think she wanted it to happen.
I think she wanted it to. Handmaid's Tale 2.0, I'm telling you.
She turned off the personal boundary and then proceeded to go into a private room with 2 men who she did not know. You just broke all the rules of real life, girl.
But this is 2022. Here's how rape works in 2022. If you feel remorse the next day, if you feel guilty that you had that one-night stand with whoever,
even though you consented at
the time, and maybe there were drinks involved, maybe you were completely 100% sober, but if you feel guilty the next day, that's rape. That's rape. That's the new definition.
Yeah,
I have seen people legitimately try to make that argument, and it's disturbing. It's rare, and I think those people are generally considered to be on the fringes of this ultra-feminist wave or whatever. But there are people out there who legitimately would make that exactly case.
This is not only is this part of victim culture, but this is also scapegoating. You made a mistake. You slept with that person, and now you feel guilty about it, and now you want to pass the blame because you feel guilty. It's scapegoating. So I mean, no.
Learn to deal with your guilt like everyone else.
Walk of shame. Walk your ass out at that dorm room.
And then do
with
it
your hair all rumpled, and because you're gonna be with someone else in the next weekend.
So again, the beta tester, they complain here because remember, this other person said she was quote unquote groped by a stranger during the Horizon Worlds beta test.
She has nothing for the stranger to grope.
That's right.
These avatars, although they have hair and facial features, they have no distinguishable features that one can say are male or female.
No, they look female.
Is it but they don't have breasts?
Yeah, I think they do.
By the way, the one spectator that has the bottle of vodka looks like a female to me.
Oh, really?
Maybe I could be wrong.
Meta, they claim, not only failed to take action against the aggressor, but actually blamed the beta tester for inadequate use of personal safety features.
Well,
which you deactivated. Woman. The last groping or whatever it was 3 months ago, Meta put this physical boundaries in place.
Maybe it was already there because, again, they're saying that person didn't even use them or whatever at the time. Another woman in Horizon Worlds reported Nina Jane Patel reported being, quote, virtually gang raped, unquote, within 60 seconds of logging onto the platform by a group of 3 to 4 male-appearing avatars.
Teenagers.
She said she was groped aggressively and, quote, verbally and sexually harassed, unquote, becoming a target for suggestive and lewd remarks due to her avatar's outwardly female appearance. The number here is 603-283-6160, and you can join us. They've got solutions, though.
Yep.
It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20, mymagicmud.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about the latest report of a supposed rape
alleged
in the metaverse.
And what's really bizarre about this one is that the last time we talked about this, Meta implemented this safety bubble thing that people could turn on to prevent this from ever happening again. And this lady turned hers off.
Yep.
And then complained about the obvious results that happened. That it's like people wrecked and died in cars. So companies are like, okay, well, we're going to invent this seatbelt. And then she wrecked and died. And she's like, I need to sue the. This is the vehicle manufacturer's fault. And their response is, well, you took your seatbelt off. So
that's not good enough. That's basically what they're saying here. And Conan, you've got the 3 things that they want to have the government do. To get involved in this situation coming up here. We'll share
that's
that
what
with
this. That's what this this nonprofit specializes in. Going after these corporations, and one of their requests I'm kind of okay with, but the other 2, not so much.
We'll get into that, but I've got a couple more because I'm on this list here. I've got their 12-page report pulled up here, which is
something metaverse, the cesspool of whatever.
It's called Metaverse, another cesspool of toxic content. And it's like you said, Arias, have these people never been on the internet before? What happens when you take human beings and you eliminate any kind of potential for social consequences for actions and things that somebody might say? People act differently than they would act in real life. You take away and you give an anonymity to teenagers and other badly behaved individuals who know that there will be no consequence for being a real S-head.
And that's exactly what happens. I don't play the consolers. I'm not a consular.
It's happened so long.
But that's where the real pain is with these young kids. Throwing out racial slurs and calling you names, and they're just nasty.
This has happened as long as there have been anonymous communications mediums. I remember when my friends and I, when we were teenagers, were screwing around on CB radio back in the mid 1990s. Okay,
crank calling.
Yeah, crank calls, sure.
That used to be a thing. In fact, they had shows of good crank callers. They do it on the radio. Yeah. But here's the thing, lady researcher. You don't have to go to this room. Nope. You didn't have to go to that back room. You don't even have to log on. You could have logged off if you wanted to.
Quote, raped her right out in the front of the whole party, right? Like, there's nothing stopping them from doing it.
Wait. We keep saying rape. This is her definition. This is 2022 because that didn't happen.
What do you want to call it?
It wasn't even sexual harassment.
Right. They bumped into her.
Unauthorized bumping. Although you could argue it was authorized because she turned off her little bubble.
Yep.
So anyway, there's a couple more examples here. They go on. So apparently Meta, they talk about in the beginning part of this 12-page report that Meta has made a bunch of purchases. Not only did they buy Oculus, the company that was manufacturing and they came up with one of the major players in the virtual reality hardware market. They bought that several years ago, probably most of a decade at this point. But they also have purchased some of the software. So apparently some of the most popular gaming applications that you can buy on the Oculus Rift store is actually owned by Meta. And so one of them is called Population 1. Now, I had not heard of this at all, but I went and I looked it up. It is apparently one of these Battle Royale style games. So for listeners that don't know, Battle Royale style, it's usually like 100 or 150 players. You start at the beginning of the game, and it might be a 20 or 30-minute timer or something like that. And the goal of the game is to be the last man standing. So you've got to kill everybody and avoid being killed. And essentially you're forced into a smaller and smaller map as time goes on. So it forces all the players to come together as they, whoever remains. And again, only one comes out victorious. Well, apparently somebody got groped on Population 1, which they say Meta now owns this. Quote, Chanel Siggins was approached by another player who then simulated groping and ejaculating onto her avatar.
How the hell do you even do that?
I don't know. It's a shooter game.
Maybe that's teabagging in her eyes.
Another player named Marie DeGracia reported witnessing harassment more than 3 times per week. DeGracia also experienced abuse while wearing a haptic vest when, quote, another player groped her avatar's chest.
Oh, God. You know what?
Okay, she was wearing the vest, right?
She was wearing a vest.
So she was aware that any sensation that happened to her avatar's breast,
like getting shot in the chest,
she would feel to some extent. It would vibrate because haptic feedback, but that's basically all it is.
That's
at this
it.
point.
It's a little vibration.
And I can see why that could be. That escalates the experience just ever so slightly, right? The fact that
she put the thing on.
I know she did put the thing on, and she turned off the thing that prevented this person from touching her or whatever.
Well, we don't know if they have that in Population 1. It is a shooter or something, so maybe it's part of the game.
But she chose to have this experience. She got the experience she was looking for.
Yeah, you went in a game where the majority population of the players are teenage boys.
Yeah,
and you picked a female avatar.
Series of bad decisions so far.
In a game where probably the median age is 14, and you get what you get.
You know what? I haven't played World of Warcraft in like 10 years. When I was just leaving, Blizzard had just introduced the headset option, the chat option. So before that, it was just text. But then everyone started really jumping on the headset option, so you actually could.
You could speak to somebody.
You could speak to someone, and you were actually realizing women actually play World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
When I was playing, this is so only a couple of more months after they introduced this new option, women in World of Warcraft, in my experience, were choice. They were choice players to team up with. It was like, oh my God.
You mean they're really good?
No. They're women. Oh, this is a cute little girl. I can tell by your voice.
I saw something recently, though, that's really fascinating. I think it's probably true. It's that I mean, it is true that a lot of guys will want girls on their team just because of their voices or whatever, and they're simps or whatever.
They're simps.
Okay.
But you do have a lot of guys out there who hate playing with girls, and anytime
unless they're a
something goes
healer,
wrong,
unless they're a healer.
No, they hate it then, because if anything goes wrong, they immediately latch onto the girl and blame them. And the reason for it is because the presence of women in these male-dominated areas, it makes men feel inadequate when they suck at the game.
Really?
They're embarrassed.
Maybe that's these two guys that we saw in the VR.
There was an actual study done on this where like high skilled male players, they never were hostile to the female players, and it was always the underperforming males who were.
Huh. Well, that makes it. But that's you're liberals, you're soy boys. Well, anyways, in my experience, the girls were always sought after. We were always looking for real life girls to add to our arsenal because we were
something
guys
nice to listen to.
We're guys. We it's nice to actually talk to someone who's not a female character. I'm watching booty and breasts all around me, but it's some dude.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's actually refreshing to actually have a real female on the other end. So I don't know what it's become. From 10 years ago when I was playing, but
well, it's not good.
It's not. Well, what I'm not trying to defend those two guys. I think they're nasty.
Yeah, sure, but that's what you get.
That's what you get on the internet. But you don't have to be in that room. You can log out.
Anonymity.
You can walk away.
Combine teenagers with anonymity, and you're going to get some ugly stuff. There's more coming up here in moments, and you know what? The government isn't going to be able to stop it.
They're going to try.
It's Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Oscar-winning actor Matthew McConaughey has been in Washington to campaign for action on gun law reform. He fought back tears as he spoke to reporters at the White House about meeting the families of the victims of the school shooting in his hometown of Uvalde, Texas. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed when a gunman opened fire in their classroom. FSN's Washington correspondent Kate Fisher reports.
Fresh from lobbying lawmakers on Capitol Hill and a meeting with President Biden, Matthew McConaughey shared some of the victims' personal stories, their lives and dreams for the future.
Now, Alethea, her dream was to go to art school in Paris and one day share her art with the world. Now, Maite wanted to be a marine biologist. She was already in contact with Corpus Christi University of A&M for her future college enrollment.
He said that now was the time to act on gun reform.
We need to raise the minimum age to purchase an AR-15 rifle to 21. We need a waiting period for those rifles. We need red flag laws and consequences for those who abuse them. Responsible gun owners are fed up with the Second Amendment being abused and hijacked by some deranged individuals.
It comes as delicate negotiations continue in the Senate, with Democrats trying to win support from enough Republicans to pass a bill on gun control measures.
Voters in 7 U.S. states have gone to the polls. They're picking candidates in municipal, congressional, and statewide contests with significant implications for the November midterm elections. FSN's U.S. correspondent Rachel Silverman has this report from San Francisco.
California, Iowa, Montana, New Mexico, South Dakota, New Jersey, and Mississippi are all holding primaries. With Democratic control of the U.S. House and Senate on the line in this year's midterm elections, the races for those chambers are drawing attention. But state and local races also have significant consequences. New state laws targeting abortion, guns, and voting rights are shining a spotlight on the state and local officials responsible for signing or enforcing those measures. Rachel Silverman, San Francisco.
U.S. markets posted solid gains Tuesday despite fresh worries over the health of the retail sector. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
Traders shrugged off those concerns to close the day in the green. The Dow ended up 0.8%, the S&P 1%, and the Nasdaq closed up 0.9%.
And Ukraine's military says that Russia has handed over the bodies of 210 Ukrainian fighters. Most of these soldiers were killed at the Azovstal steel plant in the city of Mariupol, where Ukrainian fighters made their last stand against the Russian offensive to take over the city. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. The phones are open. You can join us here at 603-283-6160. Coming up, the response from the government that these busybody activists want to happen because somebody on the internet offended them in the metaverse. That's what we've been talking about here with you tonight. It's Ian,
Aria,
and Conan.
Also, your phone calls, of course, are welcome at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're going to go to El Conejo. He's on the line in Arizona. Go ahead, El Conejo.
Hi, guys. Hey, Captain, did you mention that you grow, you raise rabbits and chickens?
It's Conan. Captain is on the weekends. Conan's here tonight.
Yes, rabbits and chickens. I'm actually getting out of the meat rabbits. I've decided that they're a little more work than I'm interested in. The chickens are so easy to. I mean, not to say that rabbits aren't easy, but I'm looking for as easy as I can get. So yes, rabbits and chickens, and some cats too. But I don't eat the cats.
Well, I wish I could figure out a way to get a hold of Jay Noon because I think he raises animals too. But the reason I'm calling is the Monero community, the privacy cryptocurrency, is trying to build the parallel economy by filling that food provider gap. So if any farmers or ranchers out there that ship direct to people's doors, sell high quality produce, would it be okay if they called into the show and gave their contact information? Because I don't. There's too much social media. And I don't think farmers and ranchers are not necessarily on all of the platforms.
If they themselves call in, they can plug their business. But if someone wants to call in and like give a catalog of all the guys out there, it would be better if you got on our social media and wrote something up. But yeah, if the actual rancher himself or the homesteader himself wants to call in and says, "Hey, look, I've got yak, I've got bison, I've got whatever," and
I don't want to turn this show into swap shop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really the point of this program. I mean, most farmers have internet access. These days they're fairly technologized. I don't know.
Technologized. But yeah, if a yak farm wants to call in, I would love to talk to him, and then he can plug his farm while he's at it. But yeah, we're not Craigslist.
Feel free to make a post over at social.freetalklive.com or on our forum at forum.freetalklive.com. And I don't know if you're going to get anything out of it, but there's probably actual internet places where you can go and find farmers. I'm just going to guess there's internet forums and places where people hang out for all kinds of different things.
I've Googled local farms in like Cheshire County right here in Keene, and there are catalogs that list all of the little hole-in-the-wall farms that are selling. Some guy might be just selling soap, and then some guy over here is selling everything under the sun.
They got the farmer's market,
milk
you can
product.
Go down there.
Yeah, I mean, there's all but I mean, there's little hole-in-the-wall stores that I have never, I didn't even know were there, and they're listed on these so I know these catalogs exist. But
okay, well. The community starting campaign. If you're willing to sell for Monero, we're looking for you. We've got e-commerce help, and if you want to be a distributor, find us on social media.
Cool.
Just reach out to the community.
And how do they do that?
Guys. Well, if you,
I mean, saying find us on social media doesn't really do much.
You can reach out to Monerotopia or Gratuitous.
You guys got a
XMR
website?
On Twitter? No. This is just kind of a recent thing. We're lining up customers right now, so it's kind of lower risk for people to get involved. But on Twitter, you can reach out to Gratuitous XRM.
Okay.
And Gratuitous has actually already got farmers lined up in El Salvador for coffee in Colombia, so they've already been doing this.
Okay.
You can actually tip the farmers with XMR or Monero with the QR code on the bag.
And for listeners that don't know,
tip the
Monero
farmers.
is the world's top privacy coin out there in the market right now.
It's my favorite cryptocurrency.
I recommend people who actually do want to do this and do it more effectively should move to New Hampshire. If you're a libertarian-minded person, we have a community of people who do care about privacy, do care about cryptocurrency, many of whom are farming types. So you mentioned Jay Noon, for instance. He's a former co-host here on Free Talk Live. There's also Bardo Farm, which is regularly at what they call market days here in New Hampshire. They make the rounds. They go to Manchester. They go to Keene. I'm sure they go to other market days. And
they certainly go to the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and I'm looking forward to it because they make awesome breakfast tacos.
Yeah, they're there every time. I've been at the market days this year. They've been out in Westmoreland at their market day in the Keene area, and they bring out fresh meats from their farm and I think some other stuff too. So, and I believe they will accept various cryptocurrencies. So I would be shocked if they don't take Monero already at this point. Thank you, El Conejo, for the call tonight. But if you want to have a real community of freedom-loving people who appreciate local foods and appreciate cryptocurrency, you've got to migrate there. I mean, it's one thing to live out in the middle of nowhere and order your stuff from online. If you can do that with Monero and have it delivered to you, that's great, but there's nothing like going to a community market day where you can actually look at the product and talk to the farmer and do the transaction direct right there. Including paying with gold or silver or something like that. That happens here.
That is hard to beat.
Yeah, it really happens here, and it's a regular occurrence. And as more people start moving here, the stronger that community becomes, the more economic strength that it has, and the more those people that are doing those services are going to be able to make without ever having to sell a single thing to anybody outside of the community, which is a cool thing as well. So, all right, Conan, let's get to their supposed solutions. They've identified so many instances of people getting their feelings hurt and quote-unquote raped in the metaverse.
This is what they want. The report noted 3 key measures that should be taken to regulate the VR universe. First, according to the report, regulators...
None of this, by the way, involves personal responsibility. None of these 3 measures.
No. Because scapegoat, because victim. That's not how 2022 works. This is a new...
Blame the corporation.
Brave new world we've entered into.
Yeah.
Blame everything except yourself. First, according to the report, regulators must address the predatory, anti-competitive practices of Mark Zuckerberg.
How is that going to change anything?
And by the way, this is a progressive. Some of us, they're extremely. I've looked at their board. Every one of them, Democrat, progressive,
sure,
lefty.
Yep.
And here they are. These are the guys who are screaming, "Oh, it's a private entity. They could do what they want. They could kick off whoever they want." These are the same people claiming it's a private entity.
Twitter.
And here they are saying regulators need to regulate Mark Zuckerberg because he's anti-competitive.
Well, they want to go after the companies they don't like.
Is he private or not, people? Because if he is, you need to walk away and shut up. But no, that's not what they want. They want their regulated safe space. Their huge safe space universe.
But none of these things are going to create a safe space. None of their proposals. Not a single one of them.
That's how government works. That's how government regulation works. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
There's already Decentraland and other competitors to Facebook's Horizon that Mark Zuckerberg will never be able to take control. No matter how anti-competitive he is, he can never take control of Decentraland because it's decentralized.
And you know what? He wants this too. He's part of it. He's a puppet. He wants these regulators to come in and tell him how to do business.
More regulations just means fewer competitors.
I don't think he cares about Facebook anymore, man. I think he's doing what Jack Dorsey and...
He's just in his basement eating bugs.
No, I think he's doing what all of these other tech giants did. They created this platform. They became ultra-billionaires.
Did they create it? Did they?
Well, I don't care if he did or not, or if he stole it. I don't care. But he became a billionaire at the very least, and now he wants to pursue the projects that he's passionate about, that he cares about. For him, it's VR. For Jack Dorsey, it's blockchain.
I don't know.
For
The guy
Elon
is just he scares me just looking at him.
For
He's
Elon
turning
Musk,
into
it's space
he is
travel.
becoming data every day. Every
so
single
what
day.
else? What's the other
Second, it is alarming that to this day the U.S. has no adequate data protection laws to safeguard consumers against abusive data harvesting practices across platforms, allowing companies like Meta to sell data to third parties with little oversight. Now, I kind of agree with that a little bit, that these people are selling my data.
How is that going to stop groping in the metaverse?
Exactly. So that's not what it's really. Why did they even add this second part?
None of this has to do with groping.
But again, it's a private entity. If they want to sell my data, it's in the EULA. I signed the damn EULA to get into this thing.
Yeah.
They
you
can
knew
sell
they were going to sell your stuff.
I knew it.
You knew it.
And all the apps that I've downloaded on my phone.
If it's a free app, you're the product.
Are they putting forth any sort of argument about how that will prevent groping?
No, because the groping is a red herring. It's not about the groping. It's about regulation. That's what these people do. That's what some of us do. They get in bed and they make these articles. They write these crap articles so that they can regulate corporations that they don't like. And that's
There's
the
one
bottom
more.
line.
There's one more. We'll continue here in moments, and you can join us here on Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after Pork Fest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest Forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Forkfest.party. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here in the remaining moments, which are happening now. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
And Conan.
And you can join us online over at freetalklive.com, where we do not do any regulating of our chat service. And really no regulation, with the exception of spammers on our social media.
There was a special room created for one individual who is just a little out there.
What you talking about?
Mouth breathing, dullard, who doesn't talk to us anymore.
Oh, you're talking about, that was back in the Discord days.
I don't think he ever joined Element.
We had to do some regulating on Discord because they're a centralized corporation and they had all these stupid rules. But ever since we started our own server, we have just been completely hands off. There's literally no moderation. I've done zero moderation of that server over at chat.freetalklive.com, and you will encounter trolls.
Oh yeah,
the
there are
most
trolls in there.
moderation that I've ever seen was us trolling the trolls by changing the name of one of the chats.
That's right.
That's the only, quote, moderation that I've ever seen.
You get that over at Free Talk Live, the chat service. You can learn how to get connected over at chat.freetalklive.com, and it is definitely not a safe space.
Nope.
And if you can't handle that, you don't belong on the internet.
Nope. Get off.
Tough up. But no, there's these wussies over at someofus.org. It is a group of, you said, total leftists, Conan, that have been, quote-unquote, studying the metaverse. And shocking, they've found that there are some rude people that are hiding behind their terminals.
I don't even know how rude their behavior actually was. I mean, it wasn't polite, but it wasn't aggressive. It wasn't hostile. It didn't do any damage. It was just.
Well, I mean, it's rude to be mean on the internet.
Get on Call of Duty or whatever with some of these kids and start losing, and watch these kids blow up. Watch them flip out.
They're going to hate you if you start winning too.
Well, the others will, but you don't have to listen to their voice chat.
Number 3, the third reason that these of us
solutions.
This is the solutions that they want implemented.
The first two of which will have absolutely no effect.
On
the
groping.
Amount of groping in the metaverse.
Not at all. But this third one might. As the Digital Services Act, the DSA, gets written into law in Europe and other world governments, they must use this landmark legislation as a blueprint for how to regulate big tech companies in their own jurisdictions. And now I've gone over to the digital strategy.
Digital Services
to see what their policies, what kind of policies they want to implement, and I'm still trying to work my way around their website.
This just talks about.
This is a European strategy that's already in effect. They're already coming down. The hammer is already coming down.
All this says here, I'm on their 12-page report, and it says once the DSA kicks in, Meta will be forced to make serious changes, such as constraining its use of data to target ads. For instance, it will be obliged to stop targeting ads to minors and providing more transparency about how its algorithms are designed and operate.
How does that stop groping?
It doesn't.
How does anything that the DSA wants to implement, it's not about groping. It's all about control.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
I'm just shocked they would be this transparent. They write this lengthy report.
Clickbait.
About how big of a problem, groping and rape is in the metaverse. They blow it completely out of proportion, and then they present 3 solutions, none of which have absolutely anything to do with the problem that they just outlined. They couldn't be more transparent that they're using the existence of, quote, rape in the metaverse to push something they already wanted to do.
Yeah,
they're neocons. They're Dick Cheney's going, we can't let this tragedy go to waste.
The solution, it was already in existence, and that was that boundary button.
Yep.
Which she turned off.
The solution was to grow up here and learn how to interact with other people on the internet without feeling like you were gang raped by 4 strangers because they brush past you aggressively in a video game.
Well, the World Economic Forum has a proposal that is in regards to this.
I'm sure they do.
This is reported by CNBC during their conference that they had about a week ago. New laws, they say, should be created to prevent people from committing crimes such as quote-unquote murder in the metaverse.
Wait.
That's why I play video games. Come on, man.
Would this apply to World of Warcraft, though?
That's why I play. That's why I'm on the internet, to get killed and to kill.
Is there a murder feature in Horizon Worlds that we don't know about?
I don't know, but there is a World of Warcraft.
Or is it
one player or whatever you said the other one was? Person 1, whatever.
Or is rape murder now?
Or is it if somebody comes over and acts like they're stabbing you, even though there's no function whatsoever for that in, Horizon Worlds? Because there's only certain acts that you can do, right? Like the programmers have only allowed you to do certain things. If you feel like you got murdered, is that going to be a crime now?
Guess.
Like they kill you and it pops up on your screen, disconnected from server, and then you can never log back into that server, because that sort of thing already exists, like hardcore Minecraft multiplayer servers. They do exactly that, where if someone kills you in the game, it disconnects you and you can never join back.
The metaverse refers to a virtual world where people can live, work, and play via an avatar. It doesn't actually exist yet, says CNBC, but tech companies are investing billions into developing the technology. There are a number of safety concerns, however, associated with its development. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos recently, Omar Sultan Al-Olama said the realistic nature of any metaverse that does... Has he used Horizon Worlds? Because it doesn't look very realistic.
This whole thing, they're going to create this regulation mechanism, and it's not going to work, and it's all going to blow up and be a great big disaster, because this metaverse nonsense, it's just the tech world's NFTs. That's all it is. It's just a great big bubble
I think it's more than that.
money into.
I think it's more than that. But it's going to take a lot longer than I thought to actually get up off the ground and run.
Yeah, it's not going to be this cycle.
Nope.
He says it's going to allow people to be terrorized in ways that aren't currently possible. He said, quote, "If I send you a text on WhatsApp, it's text, right? It might terrorize you, but to a certain degree, it will not create the memories that you will have PTSD from it. But if I come into the metaverse and it's a realistic world that we're talking about in the future, and I actually murder you and you see it, it actually takes you to a certain extreme where you need to enforce aggressively across the world, because everyone agrees that certain things are unacceptable."
Holy crap. Ari, why do you watch horror movies?
I don't know. Because I enjoy them?
Because you enjoy that thrill of being murdered. Because that's what it's all about.
I don't think that's it.
Some people do like the jump scares and they get their pulse running.
This guy obviously couldn't watch a horror movie if he wanted to. He's just a timid little guy.
He urged that the International Telecommunication Union, the UN's specialized agency for information and communication technologies, to have a conversation on setting international safety standards for the metaverse that people must adhere to regardless of where they live. For instance, there are common standards on the internet that prevent things like drug trafficking and child pornography, which obviously...
How do you traffic drugs on the internet?
There was one of the things in this 12-page report talked about how when they went into a party, there were drugs on the table.
You mean how do you traffic drugs in the metaverse? Because you could do it on the internet, of course. Yeah, exactly. How do you do it in the metaverse? Unless it's
pile of cocaine or something.
Unless it's fake NFT drugs.
How do you do it on the internet? You can't send someone cocaine via email.
Yeah, but you can send through the mail.
Get them high with
that's through the mail. That's not through the internet. That's real world trafficking, not internet drug
Maybe
trafficking.
You can touch them on the haptic vest and they'll get like a little buzz off of that.
I like that. Because that's what it's all about, video games and drugs. And one of the guys one of the Davos guys, that's his thing. He's like, these are, we've entered into a new era. There's only one real solution now, and that's to, there's no big wars to kill off all these people. So what would he have? We have the internet, and we have video games and drugs.
Let me bring Jack on the line here in Washington. Jack, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
So if I'm reading, I think mainly Ian Wright on this researcher or reporter,
I think she actually got into the upper torso thing and was like, if I'm reading you right, she got like into it. And then she had like a natural feeling like that college student would have and felt guilty afterwards. And that guilt.
I don't think she got into it. She went in there expecting what was going to happen.
She did it for
that's
research.
why she was researching this, and she turned off the security mode, the safety mode.
Yep.
And she went into a private room with a couple guys.
Yep.
She didn't know, and she wanted to record what was going to happen, and they got themselves the video clip they were looking for. This was a total setup from start to finish.
Well, she might have enjoyed it, though. You never know.
She enjoys that paycheck she's getting from some of us, her nonprofit. She's probably paying herself very well.
I don't know how she possibly could have enjoyed it because nothing happened. There was no thing.
That's what I said. She enjoys the
enjoy.
paycheck. She enjoys that check she's getting.
Some people bumped into her in a video game, and that was the full. That's the full extent.
They
of
said
what happened
hurtful
here.
things.
They didn't even do that. They were nice. They're like, "Hey, you want some alcohol?"
Out of time tonight. Thanks, Jack, for the call. Appreciate it. If you want to join us tomorrow, we're going to be here. You can do that online. In the meantime, you can find us over at freetalklive.com, where we do have a social media platform. You can go to social.freetalklive.com. You sign up there. There is just one question when you sign up asking why you're joining. Just make sure we know that you're coming because you're a listener of the show, because we don't want to think you're a spammer, because we keep those people out. See you tomorrow.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the